Welcome, folks, to the greatest show where dice roll high and the nerds all go. Comics, games, and a meme or two. Talking about the geeky stuff we all live through. From wizards and warlocks to sci-fi delight. We're breaking down the best, yeah, we do it right. Guests from the net, legends untold. Streaming their stories and maybe some gold. It's Tabletop Talk, roll for fun. Crits and fails, we love each one. Comics, movies, games galore. If you're a nerd, well, say no more. Oh, you like D&D? Great! We've got hot takes hotter than a red dragon's breath. Big rolls, bold goals, and questionable life choices. Roll for fun. Crits and fails, we love each one. Comics, movies, games galore. If you're a nerd, well, say no more. Oh, you like D&D? Great! We've got hot takes hotter than a red dragon's breath. Big rolls, bold goals, and questionable life choices. It's Tabletop Talk, roll for fun. Crits and fails, we love each one. Comics, movies, games galore. Grab some dice, get ready for more. Ladies and gentlemen, goblins and wizards, roll high and hold on tight. Introducing your Tabletop Talk host. Oh, the roller of natural 20s. The master of memes. Dungeon master of disaster. Low tabletop rolls.
Welcome, adventurers, to another episode of Tabletop Talks. I'm your host, Tabletop Rolls, and today we are going to be joined by a legendary streamer, podcaster, and a master of many realms. It is with an utmost pride that I introduce the one, the only, the Epic Realms. How you doing there, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing grand, I'm doing great, I'm doing fantastico. Lovely to have you on the show. So,
You ready?
huh?
You doing it?
Yeah,
we
we
ready?
are.
Are we doing it?
Yeah, no, we're doing it. We're all right now. Say hi to
Awesome.
people.
Live.
They're right there. Yeah, no, yeah, we're definitely live. But yes, don't you worry. So, I have went through your channel. I have scoured the many lands in which your channel does preserve, and I've always wondered, Epic, I want you to tell us about your journey. How did you get started in the whole streaming and the whole podcasting side of things?
The streaming and podcasting part was, I ran across Twitch many years ago, and they had, and maybe you remember this. You remember when you could host other channels, and it looked like it was on your channel,
Yes.
and it was also, and it would show a little thing like, if you want to watch this live, you could go over here.
I
had
remember
this
that.
brainchild. I had worked on multiple other podcasts. I had been a host and a producer for other podcasts.
Right.
And I thought, what if I made a podcast that was also live? And what if I made an entire channel based on supporting other tabletop role-playing, live-action role-playing games, other podcasts, other shows, and it hosted it all there, and it was a 24-hour channel, right? I could find out what everybody's schedule was and have the hosting on a schedule. That was my original plan.
Right.
And that's why Epic Realms was titled Epic Realms, because it was all of these different realms, because they were other channels. That was the idea.
That is awesome.
And so I slowly was putting that together, and, it took a while to get rolling. I didn't have a PC at the time. So as I was building that, Twitch was slowly shifting, as Twitch does. They change their plan and how they do things.
Of course.
And so eventually hosting became a different thing, where hosting was just like, yeah, they were on there, but it didn't look like it was on there. It was like this little mini thing, and you had to click on it to pull it up. And then they got rid of hosting altogether. And now you could just have your suggested streamers that pops up on your thing. And they just kind of changed the whole concept of what it was.
They really did.
And so I had to roll with the punches, and I had to go, okay, well, I need to change this. And I was still part-time at the time. So it was just like do the podcast was the main focus. Still is kind of the main focus. Like when you go into somewhere and somebody says, "Hey, this is Epic Realms," they don't like they'll mention that I do video games. They'll mention that I do tabletop role playing, but the biggest thing everybody mentions is the podcasts and the people I have on as guests. Even though that's 1 hour out of 5 days a week at this point.
Right. Yeah.
So that was kind of the original plan for it, and eventually it just morphed into what it is today, and it evolved because it doesn't even look the same. The overlays change, and I'm always upgrading one little thing at a time. So
Of course. Yeah, no, that's always been a massive thing about Twitch. In general, it's just constantly revolving. It's constantly going through so many motions, and it's really hard to keep up. I
Mhm.
100% agree that. I mean, I loved it when it used to be you could host a channel because I was like, that's a brilliant way to keep people engaged. That's a brilliant way to a help others as a- as well as getting your name known as someone who was kind enough
Right.
to host their channels to obviously help them grow. Um, so yeah, it's been absolutely wild, especially in Twitch. And honestly, if you started off as simply just being the one to have many realms, as you said, hosting others, and to have that massive change between then and now, it's it can be mind-boggling. It can be absolutely confusing, and it's insane, as I keep saying.
Right.
Um, and obviously, you did just talk about the whole tabletop side of it, and obviously, me being
Yes.
having the channel of a massive D&D fanatic. Um, what
Right.
inspired you to really get into that world of tabletop role-playing games?
Oh, that was forever ago. My first game was when I was in high school. Um, I moved around a lot. When I was in high school, I used to joke that I was in more schools than years I was old.
Right.
Uh, so I got to high school and I was perpetually the new kid. Uh, from fourth grade on, almost every year, sometimes twice a year, I was in a new school with new people. So I always had to make friends with wherever I could, and usually the new kid doesn't always fit in. You have to learn how to fit in to school and how to get around bullying and getting around the pecking order of schools. And of course, different regions are different. So if you're a new kid in Florida, things are going to be different because the mini social order, the way things work, is going to be different because of the outlook of how people see the world.
Of course. Yeah, yeah.
So in high school, I joined theater because in middle school, in the last couple of years of middle school, the cool kids were always in theater, right?
Of course. Of
Which is
course.
weird. You look back and but all of the popular kids in that particular region were the theater kids. That was all the popular students. And then I go to high school and I'm like, I'm gonna join the theater, which was great and it was a perfect fit for me. But that was not where all the cool kids were at all. By the social standings of a high school, right? You look back now and you look at those people and you're like, those are all the success. Those were a lot of the successful people were the people that were in theater. Like they're all entrepreneurs that run their own businesses or major stage actors. Like we have one or two people that used to tour the U.S. and do shows.
Yeah.
Um, so I met somebody through theater that played a game called GURPS, and we played GURPS, and I learned what role playing was, and then we invited other people that we heard role played or might have been interested, or other theater people. And one of my friends, one of the people I met, he was new to
Right.
school, and he joined theater, and this was like my sophomore year. And at this point in time, I was like, "Oh my god, I've been in the same school for 2 years." I actually was in high school, the same high school, all of high school, which was great. And this new person comes in. I think it was my sophomore year, and he is to this day my best friend. And he introduced me to Dungeons and Dragons, and it's all downhill from there.
Yeah. No, I mean,
So, and I wouldn't have been a fan of it in middle school. I picked up a book, and I can't not say this. I picked up a book in middle school that changed. I always loved like drawing armor,
right.
like old medieval armor, and
Mm-hmm.
I loved Greek history and mythology and all of that. And I picked up a book. I had to do a book report, and I hated books. I hated being told I have to read a book.
Yeah.
And I picked up a book called Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. and it was the first fantasy novel I had ever even looked at, and it changed what I thought was cool in everything. I was a armor and ninjas, sort of person, and this I was like wizards and warriors and spell casting. This is cool. This is a fantasy novel, and that forever made me who I am today as far as that goes. So I will always go back and pinpoint Ursula K. Le Guin as like a changing mile marker in my life, and then of course finding GURPS and D&D, and all downhill from there.
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, I've never heard of GURPS. I'm not gonna lie. When you were talking about GURPS, I was lost. I was like, sorry.
GURPS is known as the Generic Universal Role Playing System. It's a 3x6 system,
Right.
and 18 is like the best stat you can have.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
So,
I'm following. So 3 dice. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I've now got in my
yeah,
head.
and it's made by
Awesome.
Steve Jackson Games.
Yeah. No. Because I've obviously upon hearing GURPS, we are from like a careful now, table. Don't insult the guest. So we're obviously
I'm old. I'm old. Is that what you're gonna say? I'm old.
No, not old. I'm just more experienced in the realm of role playing
Yeah.
games. I'm pretty sure I
GURPS is
saved that,
still out
right?
there. GURPS is still out there and fairly popular. So it's still, but it's not
No, I get
it's
that.
not pop culturally known. We'll say. Where it's not,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If you know, it's a niche RPG, but there's so many now too. It's hard to keep up.
Yeah, no, I mean, when you were talking about GURPS, obviously, I grew up playing Warhammer, as in the original
Yeah,
Warhammer,
yeah.
Warhammer 40k, and I moved on through tabletop role playing games through that. Because obviously, not so much role playing when it comes to Warhammer, but more fact of, when it comes to tabletop games, I then steered into Dead by Daylight, not Dead by Daylight, D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. Come on. So
Yeah.
I get that's been some stepping stones to really get into Dungeons and Dragons, and I was literally forced headfirst into it. I was around friends, and they were holding a campaign, and I was like, okay, all right, I'll just kind of stick around and see how it's going. Then I get shoved into it with a whole character sheet, and they're like, create a character. I'm like,
How?
how does one create this character? But yeah, no, ever since then, like Dungeons and Dragons has been one of my babies. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. So obviously, we did just talk about GURPS. But I wouldn't say that is that necessarily TTRPG, is it? Like, no.
Oh yeah,
it's-
it is. Yeah,
It,
totally
it definitely is.
TTRPG.
It definitely is.
Yeah,
Okay.
paper and pen. You have stats and skills, and they have advantages and disadvantages in your rolling dice, and it's just like it's not just like D&D. The mechanics are different, but the game itself is totally tabletop RPG.
Okay.
Yeah, just like a Pathfinder or a World of Darkness or a Call of Cthulhu. GURPS is its own thing, but the thing with GURPS is you can play anything.
Yeah.
You can do anything you want because they have. You want to play a wizard. You can play a wizard. You want to play superheroes. They have superheroes. They have rules for everything. That's why again, GURP stands for generic universal, meaning whatever thing you want to do, you can do with that system. So if you wanna tell your story in a different place, if you don't want it to be a medieval fantasy, you can tell it somewhere else, and you don't have to change systems. You can just learn the one system, and you can be like, I want to do a modern fantasy. I want to do a modern urban. I want to do a modern war campaign with tanks. Okay, I want to do horses and ballistas rules. I want to do vampires. I want to do superheroes. I want to do cyberpunk. I want to do Star Wars. You can do all of that using the generic universal role-playing system.
That's so
Is
cool.
the system the best? No, because it's got to be universal, right? So it's not specific. So if you I had one person, and again, all the love. I still have all the books for GURPS downstairs. If you want to play GURPS, I had a friend that said the problem with GURPS is if I want to play D&D, I'm going to play in D&D. I'm not going to play GURPS.
Yeah.
If I want to play Star Wars, I'm going to play Star Wars. I'm not going to play GURPS. And I get that because those systems are specifically designed for those worlds.
Of course. Yeah. I mean,
So
it's kind of like trying to play Pathfinder with 5e mechanics. It isn't gonna work.
Right. Right. Exactly. But you can, right? You can.
I mean, yeah.
You can play in the world of Galarian using 5th edition.
But not exactly
Of course, you'd have to restat all the characters.
Exactly.
But you couldn't. I mean, you could. A creative person could take the Star Wars rules and be like, let's play Star Wars, but we're gonna play in Galarian. Let's just do Starfinder instead, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, gotcha. I honestly, the way that you were explaining GURPS, I was just like, oh, it's a dice game. Okay, cool. And then
No, that's just the
obviously,
rule
yeah,
set.
yeah.
You know, like D&D is a dice game because you have to roll a die 20. And you have to
course.
roll. I mean, it's technically less of a dice game because you're only using 3 dice for the entire thing.
True. I mean,
All your damage rolls, all your stat rolls, all your skill checks, all your ability checks, they're all 3 dice 6. That's it. And maybe that's it. Maybe it doesn't have enough dice.
maybe, definitely GURPS with more dice, like the the expansion of GURPS expanded, just shit tons of dice. um, obviously, I've seen your other streams, and I've seen your many D&D sessions, and I've loved every single last one of them. I have enjoyed it thoroughly. But in the Twitch community, especially when it comes to your Dungeons and Dragons games or other tabletop role-playing games, should you ever want to pursue them in the future, what do you think your biggest influence has been in this sort of community, in the tabletop role-playing game community?
This is funny because I was not all of my friends, every single friend I have that role plays is a huge fan of watching and listening to Critical Role. I like watching the clips of Critical Role. I'm going to throw myself under the bus on this one. I can't watch other RPG sessions because I want to play.
Yeah, I get that.
So for me, it is very hard. So like the cartoon, the Vox Machina cartoon, I love the hell out of it because I can enjoy what they did in a different format than watching people roleplay. And I know that all of the stuff happened because of a roleplay, so I can see where the dice rolls happen. And so it's like that fine, it's just past that fine line. But like sitting down, I have a hard time watching Critical Role. So all of our friends did Critical Role, and I know how popular Dimension 20 was. Critical Role, how popular all of that was. And the thing was, I started paying attention to that back when Will Wheaton was hosting Tabletop, and he would do RPGs for Tabletop. And this was before that, and then Felicia Day did the spin-off, which kind of came the feeding light for Critical Role. Well, when Will Wheaton was doing Tabletop, which was mostly board games at the time, and he did one RPG, I went, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
If this tells you how far back the Epic Realms idea goes, I was like, I could incorporate that and we could do live action role playing with our friends because we're already role playing, right?
Of course.
So it's kind of a combination of all the friends got into Critical Role, and I enjoyed some of the stuff Will Wheaton did, even though I had a hard time watching the tabletop role playing streams. I thought it was a fantastic idea to be able to have live action role playing, which is now a term, right? Actual play, they call it, on a stream. And I was like, that's a great idea. So I would say it's the two of those kind of combined as a concept. And I just thought it's really cool because I also wanted to educate people about what role playing is. I've been doing that my entire life.
Yeah.
I grew up. Again, we're gonna date myself. I'm gonna show my age. I lived in the Satanic Panic. Like when my friend introduced me to Dungeons and Dragons, we couldn't play at my house. My mom wouldn't allow it because that's evil. She knew somebody who had killed a friend, like somebody's kids killed each other or something. She knew some ridiculous thing. They were doing drugs, and that's what caused it. It wasn't D&D. They just happened to be playing D&D while they were doing drugs. It was the drugs that did it. And so she didn't like no D&D there. It's cult material. It's evil and all of that. So for me, I grew up with this mindset of it's not evil. I need to shed positive light on this. So I spent my high school years, I spent my adult years defending tabletop role playing and D&D and being like, listen, You should let your kids play it. It teaches social interaction. It teaches how to do critical thinking. It teaches consequences to actions. You're doing math. You're doing reading, problem solving,
Yeah.
teamwork. Like, these are all major components for tabletop role playing. Why would you not want your kids doing that? And it's a fantasy story and they can have fun doing it. Like, what the heck? Let's do it.
Exactly.
And if they're GMing, it's even more so because there's more work. You learn work without reward. Because as a GM, there's very little reward to GMing other than you get to tell a story.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you don't get loot, you don't get gear as a GM unless you have a character in there that's not doing anything, and that's not fulfilling as much either. So, shout out to all the forever GMs out there. We love you. Thank you.
Definitely, yes, 110%. I mean, I myself are forever GM. My only thing that I might be a little controversial, but I actually do find a lot of, trying to think here, self appreciation when self fulfillment when it comes to creating the campaign, moving the campaign into actual playing it and just seeing them have fun, like that right there is that self fulfillment that I think that affects a lot of DMs, because obviously there are times where you do the whole DM sigh, and we've all heard the sigh before of the whole
Right.
so like, oh my god, okay, well that's a whole page torn out of the book. Here comes the next thing. But yeah, no, it is impressive. Obviously, as a for GM, I can relate and stuff like that. But it is impressive that just something so minor, like a game, can teach so many learnable skills.
Right.
I once knew this person who was terrible at maths, could not add 1+1 to, well, they could, but they can't, but they can do like complex long equation. So when it came to playing D&D, obviously you gotta add all the dice up. You gotta make sure that that's subtracted from that, and he flourished. And to this day, I think he went back to school and he's got his maths degree, or his maths GCSEs, and yeah, he's doing brilliantly. He's doing fantastically, and I think D&D really helped it. Parents should let their kids play a lot more often. I know it's not exactly like the old like the whole satanic, oh my god, this is evil type thing, but
Right.
nowadays people are, like, before the D&D movie came out, people were penalized for it because it was supposed to be like a nerdy game, and now it's become so mainstream that people are just starting to look at it and they're starting to go, oh shit, this is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Stranger Things, right? Was D&D. Big Bang Theory. Big Bang Theory was huge. Yeah, there you go. Stranger Things. Big Bang Theory, they all played D&D and Big Bang Theory, and that was cool. Of course, Critical Role was huge, and everybody was like, oh, this is so cool. All these voice actors are doing this thing. What is this? So, yeah, and then, of course, the movie, the D&D movie, the real D&D movie, for those old people that remember the other ones that were horrible, the new D&D movie, pop culture has shifted in the way of the geek between D&D or even like Marvel and comics and all of that. Like,
Yeah.
the geeks of yore now rule the world.
Exactly. We have risen, people. We have risen. For all those religious people, those religious folk watching, don't worry, I'm not quoting anything. Next, I want to talk about your podcasts. Now,
Yes. Now you're gonna make it so I can't shut up.
Now we're gonna make it so you can't shut up. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna love it. So after watching through a lot of your streams, my favorite was the most recent one, Michael Whitwer. But obviously your podcast, it features interviews with authors, game designers, and I'm really looking forward to seeing who else comes onto the show.
Me too.
Right? It's gonna be so amazing. I'm looking forward so much. But I'm just wondering because obviously I'm struggling myself with whole tabletop talks thing. How do you select your guests? You know, and what's your approach to conducting these interviews?
So getting the guests is. So I lucked out. I lucked out because I was on other shows. I mentioned that right away at the beginning. I did other podcasts. I produced. I hosted other podcasts and other shows. So I've gotten to meet and interview a handful of guests that already knew me ahead of time. So I knew Ed Greenwood before I started Epic Realms. I knew Eric Scott DeBee. I knew Chris Jackson.
Right.
I knew Dave Gross ish. Keith Baker, Mike Selinker. These are all people that I had already known.
Of course.
And so when I approached them and I said, "Hey, I'm starting a new podcast that's mine. It's not somebody else's. Nobody else is involved. I'm the producer. I'm the owner. I'm the host. I have a vision. These are like I gave myself these strict guidelines to follow. Things that I was like, this is if I want my show to be successful, this is what I need to do as far as the podcast goes." The live stream was separate. The live stream was just in addition to. I'm going to do that. Like I know how to do a podcast. The live stream was just content.
Of course, yeah.
And almost every single one of those people said, "Nick, I'm on board. Whatever you touch is going to be great. You just let's schedule it." So my first handful of guests were all people that I knew. So when you look at my list of the first 6 episodes, they are all people I had already known. That way when I approached other guests, I could reference these guests.
Of course.
So I could be, so eventually I had a conversation with a writer known as Justin Leslie, and he writes the Max Abaddon series.
Mm-hmm.
And we had chatted. I just asked him a question about the books via Facebook one time, and he sent me this big long thing, and he opened up dialogue, and we chatted and got along great. And I told him that I had run a podcast as well, or I'm gonna run a podcast. This is before that, and eventually I asked, "That's like, you want to come on the show?" And he's like, "Yeah, that'd be great." And so the thing is I could reference, when I reach out to somebody like Matt Forbeck, I reach out and be like, "Hey, Matt, I'd love to have you on," because Matt Forbeck has done everything in the gaming world, whether it's video games, movies, TV, video games, movies, board games, tabletop RPGs. He's done it all. Like he's made games for Hasbro. He's made games for Wizards of the Coast. He's worked on D&D. He works for Marvel now. So it's crazy. I message Matt Forbeck and I go, "Hey, Matt, my name is Nick. Send out the professional email. I'm very professional. Like I went to school for communication, so doing the professional emails and stuff. Again, I had done it before, but I just mentioned, I'm like, this is what our show is. This is what our show does. These are some of the past guests we've had on.
Of course.
And I can back the show up based on the guests I've had on.
Yeah.
I've had these previous guests on. Thank God for those guests who put their name in the hat right away, not knowing what was going to happen. Just going off of it's me.
Precisely.
So I will be forever grateful to people like Mike Selinker, Ed Greenwood, Eric Scott DeBee, Chris Jackson, Richard Lee Byers. Those guys, without those guys, Epic Realms wouldn't have gotten a start, because those guys put their hat in and said, "We don't know what you're doing, but we'll come on and do the show, and it'll be great, and you'll do well." So, and they've become even closer friends since then, because they're freaking awesome. And so that's kind of where that got the start, and that's how I get them on, as I was using the previous guests. And it's usually emails. I send out an email to whoever, and sometimes I punch above my weight grade. Very, very many. I'm like, I'm going to send a message to this person. There is no way they're going to... Hey, they said yes. Sweet.
Yeah, it's that very thick surprise, which is just like, oh my god, yes, finally, what am I going to say?
Right. So and when I get it, when I do the show, here's my show notes. I have two sides. I have a process. I make notes the day of, so they're fresh in my mind. I don't necessarily have to go off of this sheet of paper that I write, but the front side is the show.
Of course.
and I try to kind of keep an order of what they've done for the most part, and like how their life went and where they went, because I like to get an idea of their life and journey, because
Yeah.
it tells a story.
Of course.
But if they talk about something and they reference something else, or they reference something that I didn't have written down, I'm gonna go with it, because I'm like, if I'm interested, the audience is interested. If I want to go here, then the audience probably also wants to go there, so I will ask that.
Of course.
So I don't follow this, much like you mentioned to me off stream. You have a little outline, but you don't necessarily follow it. I do the same thing.
Yeah,
I have
exactly.
an outline. I have notes. I have information down. I can ask about. Of course, I want to promote their things. So the very last thing, the very last topic we have before we go into like the go home, which is talk about our upcoming guests, talk about their upcoming appearances, talk about their social medias, and then end the show, which is that's the go home. The last thing I always talk about is whatever they have coming up, so it's fresh in the audience's mind.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
that's always last. So, and that's an old radio trick. Whatever is last. That's a wrestling trick too. You watch a wrestling show, you go to a live wrestling event. What do you remember? The last thing you saw. You remember bits and pieces of the other one, but whatever the last thing you saw is the most fresh in your mind.
Exactly.
And that's what I try to do with the podcast as well. So yeah, I do an outline as far as how I set it up and how I choose, and I have to do a lot of research. Sometimes I'll spend the weekend watching old interviews that they've done, because I don't like to ask the same questions. Sometimes you have to ask the same questions, right? If they're like, if somebody is the founder of Forgotten Realms, right? You have an Ed Greenwood on, and your audience doesn't know who he is. You have to establish who he is and why that's important.
Exactly.
In the process of the show.
Precisely.
So doing that, like you have to bring up Forgotten Realms. When I had R.A. Salvatore on, I tangentially mentioned Drist. I tried not, because he's probably not sick of it, but for me, if that's what I was known for is Drist Do'Urden, I probably don't want to spend every waking hour talking about it. So we mentioned it in passing. I brought up one book. I was like, this is my favorite book. What are your thoughts on that? And it was just something that it was kind of tangentially there, just to establish who he was, because people who knew who he was knew who he was. My audience, if they don't know, they don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
But then we ended up bringing up World of Warcraft, and half the show was talking about video games. And it was so refreshing for him and me that it made the show so awesome. And everyone's like, I can't believe we talked about gaming with R.A. Salvatore, video gaming. That was super cool. People expected us just to talk about Drist, and we didn't. And it made the show extra special. Yeah. So yeah, that's the short version of it.
That's a short version.
The short version of your answer.
But no, that's perfect. That's brilliant. Yeah. So
again, I said, now you're gonna get me to talk.
yeah,
forever.
no,
You're
that's
not gonna
perfectly
let me
fine.
shut
That's okay. I mean, look, I want to hear this. I want you to talk to me. Tell me all those dark secrets. I'm joking.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, just tell me everything, because it's really interesting to hear from another podcaster's point of view. Because obviously, Tabletop Talks happened a while ago, way back at the start of the channel, and then I only just recently brought it back. Last couple of months, but yeah, no, it's always really interesting to hear a different take, and obviously, how another person prepares the stuff. I mean, your my I think methods of setting things up are kind of similar, because obviously, as you said, we need to have some sort of outline of how it's going to go, what's going to be said,
Yeah.
what questions are going to be asked, what questions are going to be completely avoided. And, I mean, behind the scenes before this started, you did obviously turn around to me, you were like, okay, God, I don't want to be completely, took off guard. Just, stick to what I know.
I always try, I've had many guests be like, are you going to send me the questions ahead of time? And I go, no, sorry, I don't do that. I can give you a rough idea of where we're going to go with things, but I always say I want it to be conversational.
Exactly.
I want it to feel like a conversation, like two people just chilling and hanging out. Obviously, it's not that. So I always tell guests to come on about 15 minutes early so that I can do the prep, the setup. The setup's mostly done.
Yeah, it's literally just
So
like
unless
fine.
there's an emergency, unless somebody's microphone isn't working, unless a camera's not working, unless they can't get online, uh, I can get all of my prep done in 3 minutes.
Right, of course.
So I have that buffer. So okay, I get all my stuff done and everything works fine. Okay, now I have 10 minutes. What do I do? Well, that gives me time to chat with them while I'm setting things up. So I could take longer to set up, but I can have a conversation with them. And almost 70, 80, 90% of the time, it actually brings them in a place where they can just have a conversation like, okay, this guy is chill. He's just hanging out. He's not fanboying me. He's not whatever. We just talk about, how's your day? How was your weekend? Oh, what's this? Oh, that. Oh, yeah, my dog does this. Whatever it is. And so that gets them into a more relaxed state. And if they're still kind of tensed up, usually by the first, you can watch. If you watch the shows or you listen to them, you can tell the moment that a guest becomes relaxed in the flow.
Exactly.
You can see it happen.
Exactly.
There will be a point you can tell by their speech patterns while they're talking. Their ums and ahs will go away. Mostly, some people don't. A lot of people have verbal pauses.
Of course.
I have them. I'll repeat words 2 or 3 times. I'll ask a question twice. You guys, my wife's like, you do realize how often you ask the same question twice before you give them a chance to answer. I'm like, yeah, I know. It drives me nuts.
I also sometimes do that. So don't worry, you're not alone when it comes to
No.
Like repeating questions. Because I'm like,
I ask the question, and then I'm like, that I need to reword that so it's more understandable.
exactly.
And then I reword it, and they're already answering the question when I'm halfway through rewording it.
And then you're kind of like, oh, okay, well, guess that didn't need to be done.
Exactly.
Push that
And
upside.
then I'm embarrassed.
Yeah, exactly. It's honestly, it is the worst feeling, especially as like a podcaster or a talk show host, for there to be like a moment where you kind of like, oh shit, did what I just ask accidentally make them uncomfortable, or did it kind of like push them away, or that sort of section. But every single guest that I've had on here, including yourself, you guys are amazing. I'm not gonna lie. I can have a full on conversation with you and not pause or stutter or really murmur. Hi there, Kim. Sorry, I should rip my chat real quick.
I've been watching your chat.
Yeah, awesome, fantastic. So where was I? Oh no, words, stuff. Threw me off.
Words is hard.
No. Obviously, you literally answered one of my questions whilst we were going off on a tangent, explaining
if I had
things.
$1 for every time that happened.
Right?
I had $1 for every time that happened to me.
I just want to say for the record, that's twice. So $2 for you. Because I was going to ask after this, how'd you prepare for each episode? But then you were like, okay, yeah, got it, it's right there.
You did ask that. You asked that.
Oh, did I ask that? Did I?
Yeah, you did ask that.
Oh, yeah,
Maybe
possibly
not
like in
so
this-
specifically.
Yeah.
I think when you read the question, the how did you prepare it kind of got tagged on there.
Contact, yeah. It's, this,
Well, that's
this-
why I answered it because you had asked. You had
Okay,
asked.
okay, right. Well, I
You got it. For $1.
nailed it. $1. I love it. So I've got to ask because
Yeah.
I have got a lineup in my mind that I really want to conduct interviews with, and kind of go down the whole road. But who is your dream guest lineup? Because I gotta know.
Bruce Campbell.
Of course.
Bruce Campbell's always going to be number one. I've got a great Bruce Campbell story we can tell later, but Bruce Campbell he holds a very special place in my heart, and one day I want to tell him this story and see if he remembers it. But Bruce Campbell will always be on the list, and will forever probably be the one guy we'll probably never get. I don't see a lot of big Hollywood people coming on the show, and the reason why is that what am I going to ask them that the world doesn't already know?
Exactly.
What am I going to talk to them about that the world? My format, there are biographies. There's literally a TV show called Biography, or at least there was,
Right.
where you get their whole life. So it's like, what do I ask them without fanboying, without being like, oh, tell me a story about on set that nobody else has ever heard. Give me some clickbait stuff. Like, I don't want to be that guy.
No.
And so a lot of like major Hollywood people, like, yeah, I would love to have them on. That would be great to be able to sit down and talk with, The Rock. It would be great. He's also a wrestler, so that branches a couple things. But
Of course.
would I love to have Tom Hanks on and talk about stuff? Yes, of course I would.
Mm.
Would I love to have Steve Martin or Martin Short on? Without a shadow of a freaking doubt, I would love to have those kind of guys on. So when you say a dream list, I kind of don't put a lot of that type of people on the list because, yes, it would be great, but I don't see that being something that makes sense for the show.
No.
Other than, like, I wouldn't say no. Like, if their publicist was like, hey, Steve Martin wants to be on your show, I'd be like, a friend of mine made a funny email address and is trolling me, but that's,
Right.
if that actually happened, if I got a call or whatever, like, I would be surprised. And would I try and get them? Yes, I would. But Bruce Campbell, probably the highest end of maybe possibility to do if I wanted to fork out money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
for it.
no. Yeah.
Because some guests, podcasting is a promotion
It is.
for them. Like,
Yeah.
that's why I do the lineup the way I do, is to promote the guest, to sell my audience on their stuff, whether it's the live stream or the podcast downloads. The idea is like, hey, I have this guest. You as a viewer or a listener get to listen to this cool show, and at the end, maybe you can go check out this guest's whatever they have, whether it's a CD, a movie, a TV show, a new novel, a new game, a new RPG, whatever it is. Go and check that out.
Yeah, definitely.
So, for an act to have a big list actor on there, it would be great, but for some of them, like, my audience reach isn't going to help a Bruce Campbell a whole hell of a lot. If he's selling a book, maybe.
Right.
So dream lineup guests is hard because I've had a lot of them.
Of course.
I would love to get some of the Critical Role people on. That would be great. I'd love to get some of the, like, I'd love a Will Wheaton or Felicia Day would be amazing and cool. Right. I'd like to get some more professional wrestlers. I knew a lot of people back in the day. I don't have a lot of contacts left anymore, and I hate contacting a former guest and be like, hey, can you hook me up with so and so? I hate that. It drives me nuts.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't like doing that.
No.
And I've had multiple guests say, like, don't worry about it. Just contact me. If you need somebody in the D&D world, let me know. And I was like, I would love to, but so I very rarely do that just because it's like, it's hard for me to feel like that's a professional way of doing it.
Yeah.
I'd like to send a professional email or, something like that. But so it's hard for me to say I got a dream guest lineup. So all of those people would be really cool. I'm always just looking. I'm always just looking for people that are in the industry to add to it. And I've had people on that have one board game. Like, I designed a board game that I sold on my personal website, and I'm like, sure, come on. So I run the gamut. I'm not elitist by any rate. I'm not like, oh, you're not a New York Times bestselling author. Well, you can't come on. I don't do that. I try to sparse it out, so those people that are kind of unknowns still get a spot. But I also don't do them back to back to back to back. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I like to spread that out as well as far as who I get for guests.
Of
Because as you can tell, my guests, they range of a variety of realms.
Oh yeah, 100%.
See what I did there?
Yeah.
Yeah. It should be cool. I have a new website coming out, and it should be within the next month or two. And it actually has the on the page, the podcast page, it lists all the guests.
Right.
And it's categorized them. So it has a list of authors. I'm looking at it now. It has a list of authors, a list of game designers, and then under even more guests, it's like actors and TV personalities, professional wrestlers, artists and comic book writers, musicians, all of these. And in the game design, it's like board games, tabletop games, video games. So it's kind of neat to sit there and see it laid out in front of me. We're coming up on 100 guests.
100
100 episodes coming up. So I'm It's crazy. So you say dream guest. I'm like, I don't know who's left out there.
Well,
Hopefully either I reach them or they reach me.
put it this way, look, you're really getting the word out there with your podcast. And there's so much room where you could potentially get the people that you want on. Like, obviously, 100 episodes, that's a lot. That is a lot, and honestly, I'm shocked. I am speechless. Once you said 100 episodes, I was like, what? How? How does one do 100 episodes of simply just sitting there talking and asking questions, just like how we're doing now?
It's fun.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
fun.
Exactly. It is fun. It is fun
It's
to get to know
stressful. The
people.
day of is super stressful, but after it's done and the next day happens, I look back. I'm like, that was awesome. This
Right.
is cool. And doing shows like this, by the way, thank you for doing this because it reminds me of my passion for it. Because sometimes it's hard to be like, maybe I should just hang it up. Maybe I should just be done with the show. Maybe I should do something else.
Oh, no,
And then I
dude.
do a show like this, and I'm reminded how much I love doing it. So thank you.
No worries. Hey, there's no need to thank me. Honestly, just having you here, being able to talk to you, because I think this is one of the first times you and I have actually had a conversation over, face to face.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead
But
of just like me and your stream while you're doing a game or doing something, or you and mine while I'm doing something.
right. I mean, hey, we've been following each other for a while now, quite a while. I feel like I almost know you. But yeah, no, it's honestly it's a pleasure having you here, just talking, just chatting, just shooting these shit as it says. But yeah, it is mind-boggling to think that what was it, 2 years, 3 years? How long have we known each other for?
I have no idea. It's all a jumble in my brain.
Because
As everybody in chat knows, exclamation mark goldfish, and a little thing pops up. I have the memory of a goldfish, and a little fish swims across the screen. I don't.
yeah.
I couldn't tell you what I had for dinner a week ago. So.
Anyway, it's been a long fucking time. There we go. We're gonna just throw that out there. I remember back when you were streaming. What was it? What was it? I'm trying to think of the. I think it was Dead by Daylight. Have you ever streamed Dead by Daylight?
That was a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
We
it
were
was
just
Dead by
talking
Daylight.
about that earlier ahead of time about Dead by Daylight, and it was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I haven't played since Chucky came out.
Yes. Since
Since Chucky was released, so and that's got to be at least a year since that came out. And you were
about at least a year. Yeah. No.
That's when I stopped playing it. That's not when you came and
No.
found. Yeah.
I started joining when I think what the nearest one that just come out was Hellraiser.
Okay. Yeah. That was when I returned to Dead by Daylight pretty much officially.
Yes, yeah. So it
around
was.
there.
It's a long time. A lot of happy
Yeah,
memories.
that's
A lot
like
of happy
3 years,
shoots.
I think.
Around about 3 years. Yeah, that's crazy though. That is insane. Anyway, we're moving off topic here.
No.
not railroading my own interviews. No. I little D&D joke for you guys. Just throw it out there. A little DM campaign joke. Railroad.
2021. Hellraiser came out in 2021. So 4 years ago.
Yes. Holy shit.
No, 3.5. It was September. 3.5.
Sugar honey iced tea. Yeah, no, there's because the new FNAF one's coming out as well. That's gonna be impressive. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. Someone did leak some base designs for William Afton. For the new FNAF chapter, and first one which they showed, I think that they created themselves, but it was like a fully chained up Springtrap type deal.
You know what? I lied. I was there when the Alien release happened, with Ripley. I was there for that one. That's where I stopped. Was right after the Alien release.
Yes. No, the
I forgot about that
neurons.
one.
The neurons are firing. I now remember that. Yes.
Right? Pew pew pew. Oh yeah. Ripley.
There it is.
Ripley. They made Ripley. It looks nothing like Ripley, but it's Ripley. Person with curly hair and a one-piece running suit.
Honestly, she rocks it.
Sigourney.
Would 110%. I'm just saying, just throwing it out there.
Not pass. Smash, not pass.
Yeah. I think we both need a little bit of a break. So
Okay.
this is what you should do in these streams: is I will give you 15 minutes, 15 to go off, get a drink, stretch, because sitting on your ass for long periods of time is not okay. And yeah, we
Self
will.
care is important.
Soft chairs are important. Currently, the one I'm sitting on feels like a fucking brick. So,
Self care, not chair. Self-care.
right, soft chair. I thought this is soft chair. My Irish brain picked that up as self care. Yes, self care is important. Please go and, go and get a drink. Go and get something to eat. If you haven't eaten already, I'm looking at you. Yes, you. You know who you are. And we'll see you guys very shortly. Enjoy the music and Epic. I will speak to you soon.
Okay.
All right. Also, make sure to prepare that D20 for when we get back.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah. So okay, I'll see you guys soon. But yes, just before we went off for break, we were talking to Epic Realms, who is still here. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Hello.
I'm here. Hello.
Hello. Okay. As we were discussing earlier, for you to get your D20 out, because we need that.
Are we doing that now?
We do that now if you want to. Now we can do it now.
Oh, I wasn't sure.
I mean, yeah,
Whatever.
just say
You're-
it's my
you're-
friend.
you're the boss.
Okay, all right, okay. Well, I'm just,
I was just listening. I don't know. What are we doing?
yeah, well, I mean, I was gonna do the whole roll things. But welcome in, Daku, and good morning to you too.
Nakabera. Daku also hosts a podcast. She's pretty awesome.
You also hold a podcast?
She does. She hosts a paranormal podcast with the one and only Miso Thorny, both streamers.
Oh my God! I'm so I just need to take a moment. I'm following you because paranormal shit. This is amazing. Absolutely love everything to do with the paranormal. Absolutely everything.
Yes.
Fuck
Me too.
yes.
Me too. I love it. That's why a lot of the guests
Right.
I've had on are paranormal stuff. Yeah, I talked about the black-eyed kids. Yeah.
The black-eyed children. Oh God.
Yes.
Just thinking about it, I've got chills. I got chills on my spine. Cool. Actually, you know what? To put on the D20. We put it down. Okay, yeah, okay, right.
Put it down.
Yep. Put it down.
Okay,
Because
it's
I
over
want to.
there. I haven't pulled it out yet. I've got a whole bag. And this is all, by the way, I'm not a dice goblin. This is all I.
I unfortunately am a dice goblin. If I were to go around this room right now, I could probably go to 4 different corners and pick out 6 sets of dice.
Wow.
Yeah. I've got
You're one of those gamers. No, I'm just kidding.
I've got literally. I was in bed this morning and I reached down to obviously to pick something up and I just found like a random D20. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't realize I was playing D&D in bed. Sure. Didn't realize I was hosting in there. You two are Dice Goblin Deku. That's awesome. You gotta show me some sets. You really do. Okay. So. I know that technically we moved away from the podcast stuff. I don't know if I've asked you this, but have there been any memorable moments or have there been any sort of standout interviews that are literally burned into your brain?
So there's a lot actually that are in there. It's hard. There's so many really good ones that stand out for various different reasons. I was just sitting there thinking, I really enjoyed. There were some really cool moments that I've had with audiobook narrators
Right.
that I've had on. They've all just been fantastic. I just went through and got a bunch of clips with my interview I did with Luke Daniels, and Luke Daniels is always a pleasure. He is so much fun. And so Luke Daniels, Ray Porter, Victor Bavine. We talked about R.A. Salvatore. Victor Bavine does all of the Driss novels. Those guys are just all freaking fantastic and amazing. But just it's so hard because of the scope. We talked about the paranormal, so having Tim Dennis and Dave Schrader on and Amelia Cotter on, all paranormal researchers and television people, was all amazing. Mark Meir and B. Dave Walters, we talk about tabletop role playing, and like the boom of actual play RPG. I mean, B. Dave Walters was the GM for the cast of Stranger Things. Like he was their GM
Yeah.
when they did that special. Like you don't get cooler, more memorable than that. And sometimes I don't know how a guest is going to be. And so when you get a guest on, like it'd be Dave or a Mark Meir, you're not sure what that's going to look like, and you get nervous about it. And then at the end, you're like, oh my God, they were so cool. It was so amazing. That is not at all, you know, what I expected. Or you get somebody that you get on and you expect a lot from, and then you're like, I worked on another show, not on one of my shows, but I worked on another show,
Right.
and we had a guest on, and I was like, gosh, this is like pulling teeth. Like, you know, you ask a detailed question, then they go yes.
Right. Exactly.
You
Like,
get more than that. Can you, and so it tests your skills as a interviewer to get that conversation to continue going. And so yeah, I was like, yeah, that I'm like that. Well, I probably won't ever have that particular person on. So it was a challenge. It was a challenge for sure.
yeah.
But yeah, I have a lot of memorable stuff. I'd say 50% of them are super memorable. It's just depending on the day and what I'm doing. Justin Leslie is always great. Hunter Blaine is another author who is always great. Of course, the people I mentioned at the beginning. When you have a repertoire, when you know somebody, because repertoire is not the word. When you have a rapport, that's the word.
Rapport.
When you have a rapport with somebody, you tend to get a better interview because you're talking with a friend and not just somebody that you're just right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So
Precisely.
there is a difference when it's somebody that you know. So some of those people that I now have known, or people that I've had come back a second time that remember their first time. So
Right.
you mentioned this latest show we did for the Black Collar Collective. It was a charity show, and we had Michael Whitwer come on, and we spent 2 hours talking about the history of D&D. Well, when I first had Michael Whitwer on the podcast, it was just the two of us chatting, and he was so energetic and like really open to it, and he really enjoyed the podcast previously, so he was excited to be on there, and we had such a good time. So when I asked him to come on the second time, that was a super easy show to do. That was so much fun. I just got to sit back and hang out with somebody that I could, have like what we're doing now. I just sit back and have a conversation, and it's not a big deal. And it's entertaining for everybody listening, and everybody's having fun, and you can tell when yourself and a guest are getting along because the audience can see that, and then they get into it and they're like, this is really cool, this is intriguing, this is fun. And so that episode, the Black Collar Collective charity stream we did with Michael Whitwer was a lot of fun, and that's going to stand out to me. Michelle Franklin, how can I not talk about Michelle Franklin? She was somebody that I knew tangentially through Andrew Velkoskis, who runs Fate of the Norns, which is like a old Viking RPG.
Right.
And she does a lot of stories and books with him. Ed Greenwood has done some work for Fate of the Norns as well. And having suggested, a fan of the show said, hey, you should have Michelle Franklin on. And I looked her up and I was like, oh, she's got some books, some children's books. That's cool. I'm having somebody that's got these kids' books out there, but also does D&D RPG stuff. I had no idea what I was getting into. And now she is one of my favorite people in the world. Like, anytime I'm like, I need a fill-in guest, I need an off the pod, if I just want to do something fun, I'll call Michelle Franklin and be like, Michelle, do you want to come do a show? She's like, yeah, that'll be great. And it's ridiculous. We spent 20 minutes on off the pod talking about cheese. Just that was the topic, cheese, and we spent 20 minutes doing it, and it was entertaining and fun as hell. So
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, it's really weird. Like, you discover so many different things. As soon as you get to know somebody, they're so open. They're like, okay, right, yeah, I'm going to say this, this, and this. Like, I mean, what was her favorite cheese? I've got to know.
well, the key takeaway from that is she didn't think if cheese was yellow, it's not cheese. That was my big takeaway. If it's yellow, it's not cheese. American cheese is not cheese.
Right, right.
Cheddar cheese is white, not yellow. Colby cheese is white, not yellow. Otherwise, it's not a cheese. That was the big takeaway from that one.
So, not necessarily a favorite, but more like, what is cheese, what isn't cheese, and if it does cheese,
Yeah,
You
I
know,
think we did mention what our favorites were, but that didn't stand out in my mind.
No.
Those answers did not stand out in my mind.
Also, I just real quick. Thank you so much for following that Dakubara. Welcome to the table. Me roll those extra 20s. Supposed to do that for the other one as well. But yeah, cool cheese. That's now going to be stuck in my head. Cheese.
That's always something that, like, now when I talk to people and I'm like, because I do the other show called Off the Pod where it's just whoever I have on,
Right.
and I'm like, what are some topics you want to talk about? Because the idea is 20 minutes. We talk about a single topic for 20 minutes, then the alarm goes off, then we catch up, and then we change to the next whatever the next topic is.
Right.
And now when I tell people, hey, what kind of topics do you want to talk about? They're like, well, what do you mean? You know, and I have to give examples. I'm like, it can be anything. We can talk about tabletop role playing, or we can talk about the art of creating a rogue character. It can be as broad or specific as people want.
Of course.
I'm like, it can be anything. I'm like, I don't care if we talked, and then I go, we talked about cheese for 20 minutes. That was a topic. So
if it works.
Yeah, whatever. If it's something that somebody wants to talk about, and I think Michelle was one of those people where we could have done anything. It wouldn't have mattered what we talked about. We could have talked about anything, and we could have filled 20 minutes and been entertaining and had fun with it. And that's all that really matters.
Yeah, exactly.
But usually I'd like, pick something that you're passionate about, something you like. If you have a hobby or something that somebody doesn't know about, those are cool. If there's a niche thing, like if your favorite character class is this obscure class, if you think you can talk about it with me for 20 minutes, I'm game. I don't care what it is.
Hell
I'll give anything a shot when it comes to a conversation, because that's what's fun. That's what's fun. You never know what you're going to talk about.
Exactly. You know, I find that with many guests is that if you don't talk about something that they're interested in, then that interest is lost. There's absolutely nothing like cheese. Exactly. You know,
who doesn't like cheese?
Who doesn't like cheese, right? I mean, look.
Except for my doctor, doesn't like me to have cheese, apparently.
Well, doctors are kind of buzzkills. I'm not gonna lie to you. But yeah, I mean, personally, Red Leicester, personal favorite. Just saying, they're out there. Anyway, let's look towards the future. Okay, all right. I'm imagining in my head right now I've got a crystal ball, or rather you've got the crystal ball, and I'm going to gaze into the crystal ball. What do you envision for the future of tabletop role-playing games, and, of course, your streaming content relating to it?
The future of tabletop role-playing. It's hard right now with the scope of the world, and I'm not going into politics, but the costs of publishing is not cheap in the modern climate. So I see a lot of homebrew.
Yeah.
I see a lot of digital RPG.
Of course.
People coming up with their own games, publishing things digitally so people can download books. I see a lot of that happening in the future. I see a lot more online presence. I see a lot more of the D&D Beyond sort of situation for other companies, because it will be easier for people to learn. Because here's the thing, with 5th edition, you don't need to buy the books now. You go on D&D Beyond, you click create a character, and it walks you through it, and then your GM will just tell you what dice to roll.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's that simple. I see a lot more of that happening.
Yeah.
Because of the problems with shipping, with retail stores, with all of that kind of stuff. Again, not to go into the modern political climate, but I see a lot more digital growth in the tabletop RPG world.
Of course, yeah.
So I see a lot less pen and paper and a lot more like, I've got a tablet with D&D Beyond. I got a tablet with whatever the program is that has my character sheet and rolls all my dice for me. You asked me, like, hey, you might need a dice. I'm like, I don't have a dice in my room. Like I said, I have one set of dice. It sits downstairs where my in-person gaming is, because I don't need it when I'm playing on the computer. Because if I'm playing on the computer, I have the digital dice roll. So
yeah,
that's kind of where I see that. Did you say for the podcast or the live
stream? So for just for your content in general, because obviously we just went into how bookstores are going out of fashion, and it's
Yeah.
it's everything's evolving, and the fact that everything's not gonna be digital. Like, I mean, I remember paper, you know, character sheets, like being able to jot everything down and that sort of thing. But obviously, everything's changed so much. So when it comes to your streaming content, because I know that you do it online, do you think that's really gonna change at all? Because obviously, with everything going,
I don't think it being online is going to change. I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. If a production company calls me up and says, we want to put your show on Dropout, I'll say, I don't want to say like ABC, NBC. No. If they call and they're like, hey, we want to put your show on Dropout. Okay. Sorry, guys. The podcast is now on Dropout. You have to find it there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say no. Depending on how the conversation goes and how the contract works out and all that kind of stuff, I'm open to that kind of stuff. I don't see that happening. What I truly actually see happening, I mentioned the website. I think the revamp of the website and how that's going to go is going to, I don't want to say fix, and I don't want to say change. I think it's going to be a big part of where I am. It's going to be a big part of promotion and helping a tool. The way I have it getting set up, I think will be helpful because it's a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
If you want to listen to old podcasts, you'll be able to do it on the website. If you want to watch the live streams, you can do it on the website. If you want to see past episodes of whatever, you can do it on the website. If you want to see what it's all about, you can do it on the website. I see a lot of stuff shifting. The podcast numbers, right. They do well. But I see the live because it's a video. A lot of people are on YouTube. A lot of people watch videos on demand. I see the growth of YouTube catching up and outpacing the podcast downloads. When that happens, I think the way that the show is produced will shift. Because right now the podcast itself, just the podcast, is formulated in such a way where I put the podcast first, because that's where the audience is, right? We get thousands of downloads for the podcast episodes.
Okay, yeah.
When the YouTube views, whether it's the live stream or the follow-up views, generally the follow-up views, when those numbers start to surpass the podcast views, then I have to garner the content and I have to shift how the content is produced to appeal to the YouTube audience over the podcast audience, because the majority of the audience will then be on YouTube.
Exactly.
Or will then be on Twitch or wherever it ends up being. But I foresee that happening as far as the future. Will it be a year? Will it be 2 years? Will it be 3 years? I don't know. But the way I see things going, I see that shift happening towards people wanting to watch the video interviews, at which case the production will change. There will be a focus on the visual aspects. Because I tell the guest, if you hold up a book, if you grab your book and you're like, this is my book, I have to stop the show and be like, they're holding up their book. This is what the cover looks like, because it's for an audio.
Exactly.
Yes, it's video. Yes, it's recorded. Yes, it's live streamed. But the majority of the audience is the podcast, and they can't see the book you're holding up.
No, exactly.
When you say this is when they go, yes, you see this right here, and they show a bookshelf with stuff, I have to explain to the audio audience. Our guest is pointing to a bookshelf filled with books that are all produced, looks like from the 30s.
Exactly.
That is, what to give context to what they're pointing at, because the audience can't see what he's doing, and I have to produce the podcast in such a way that focuses on the audio and not the visual. When the podcast views start to surpass the audio downloads, then I'll have to focus more on, like, okay, this is what an intro looks like, because it's going to be visual. There's got to be visual cues. There's got to be visual editing, a lot more like the live stream video game stuff, all of that. So that will have to change, and the edit will look different if I'm focused on the video views over the podcasts.
Right.
And so that is where I could be wrong. I could get picked up by Adam Carolla tomorrow. Adam Carolla could call me up and be like, "Hey, we want to do a geek podcast. We want your show." you know, then obviously then we're going to start looking at the millions of downloads instead of thousands.
Of course.
So who knows what's going to happen? You never know in the world of entertainment what will happen.
No.
But if we're on the current course and something drastic doesn't happen, and it's just me putting out the work and putting out the content, that's how I see it progressing as far as my show and my podcast content goes. Live stream, I'm always upgrading little things here and there, adding things, changing things, because it's a variety stream as far as Twitch goes. It's a variety of stuff. I think that the tabletop RPGs will still continue. Me playing video games will still continue. Like, I do it full time, so I don't know how much of that will change, and unless, you know, Twitch drastically changes. There was a moment there where people thought Kick was the next big thing, right? Everybody was like, Kick, they're doing this, they're doing that, go there, and then it just kind of fizzled. Like, there are still people on Kick, they're still making money, but it's not, you know,
it's not
you don't hear about that. You don't hear about Kick. When people talk, when you look at news about live streaming, it's Twitch and YouTube for the most part. You get some TikTok and Instagram and, you know, some of that. They have live streams too, but that's not really where the news goes.
No, no one really focuses on Kick anymore. It's
right. I mean, I'm not on there. I tried to cross promote. I tried to do it all at once. Like, I had YouTube Live, Twitch Live, Kick Live. I did all that. Now I'm like,
yeah. I mean,
depending on the content, I might do more YouTube. But
the thing is, I find YouTube to be like, if we rated all the streaming stuff on like a scale of like easy, you know, medium difficulty, then fucking nightmare, I would say that Kick is in the middle, and then YouTube is around the top. I really tried YouTube for a while, and it didn't work. It's literally exactly like the only thing the algorithm shows nowadays is shorts. That is the only thing that you really get when we search something up, is shorts, or it's, I don't know, it's weird to think that the algorithm's gone to shit so much that it doesn't focus on those smaller, because you would think on, like, you know, as you go around searching videos, YouTube would want you to see the smaller ones to get their views up, and obviously make YouTube more popular for promoting those smaller streamers, or those smaller all the smaller YouTubers.
I will answer that question in a very simple way. If you we'll use it from Twitch perspective, because you can visually see it via Twitch. Pick a game, go in there and scroll to the bottom to the people that have 1 or 2 views, right? Even 1 to 5 views, 1 to 10 views.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at that and then you compare the content of all of those people, yes, there are going to be some diamonds in the rough. There are going to be some really good content down there that nobody knows, and you're like, oh my gosh, how come this person isn't a huge star?
Right.
But then you go to the top, the people that are like, you know, the Twitch celebrities, and you look at their content. Now, their content, there's a reason that there are thousands of people watching most of them. And it's because their content is polished, it looks good, you know, all of these things. Not that people that don't have that can't put out a good product. There are lots of people in the top 10 of every video game that you look at and you're like, why does this person have 500 views?
Yeah.
So they can be entertaining. So I'm not putting down any of the people that don't, but I'm saying, as far as the corporate side of looking at things, they don't want to push that because there's 500 people putting out garbage, and they can push this person that's already a proven topic, right?
Right.
Why put out a new news show when you own 60 Minutes?
Yeah, no, I get that.
They're not going anywhere. So push them to get, why are they watching these people? Let's see if we can get them to watch this thing that is already proven good. And increase that. And that's from the corporate side, from the monetary side, from the promotion side, from the marketing side, which, you know, is a huge thing I went to school for. That is one of the reasons they do that, unfortunately. What I wish they would do is, I wish that they had a way of the algorithm going, this person is good, this person could be a star, let's push that, and not, you know, the 30 other things in there. So, be like, okay, this person has something, it may not look the best, but they have something. They have something special here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, there are very few people when I started doing the podcast for a podcast and the live stream. There were very few. I could count on one hand the people that were doing that on Twitch, and now 4 years later, there's so many, and it's not like I inspired them. They don't even know I exist, but it was an idea that a lot of people had, and I was lucky to just implement it quicker. I wish I would have implemented it when I came up with it 3-4 years earlier, because then I would have been the only one. But
Right.
there's a lot out there, and you have to. It's your competition, but I also say rising tides raise all ships. If I can come on Tabletop Roles and help your channel grow, then who knows? 20 years down the road, you might be working for Adam Carolla and having your show, and I'm still on Twitch, and then you're like, hey, check out this Epic Realms guy. You never know. You never know. Be careful. What's the phrase? Be careful of who you step on the way up, because you have to fall past them on your way back down.
Yes, that is the exact saying, and perfect. You nailed it. But yeah, no, definitely. Don't
So
go.
I've been, I've been on your show. I've been on a million other shows, and I don't care if somebody sends me a message like, "Hey, you got time to be on a show?" I'm like, "Yes." Why not?
Exactly.
Why not?
Exactly. And it's not always just to help views, just have fun. Just
Right.
that's our
fun.
main reason why we're here, why we're streaming, why we're talking, why we're just being us, is
Yeah.
to have a happy
Like,
life. No
you and I, like, we're getting along great, right? This is awesome.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
we could probably do this. We could do this every day. We could do a show every week, and
Hell
it would
yeah.
be something unique and different and fun, and it could just be two people, like, and it would go well.
I honestly, yeah, dude, I'll be down for that. If you're going to pitch me something, I mean, yeah, fuck yeah, I'll just quickly get my schedule. But, but yeah,
Like
no,
Classic Sam. I don't know if you know Classic Sam NYGM. She does an interview show with Twitch streamers and RPG producers. She's awesome. She's great. Your stuff is awesome. I can't wait to start seeing, because I know you're getting a lot of the stuff you've done in the past edited and put out there. I can't wait to see all of that come out and get put out there. So, and see where that goes, and promote that as well. So yeah, it's just, there's so many really awesome people out there doing this kind of stuff.
There
How
is.
can I not support you guys?
Thank you, man. Thank you. Honestly, that means so much. It really does. But yeah,
Anybody watching, I'm out there. Like, let me know
Yeah.
if you need help.
Turned down for
you,
what?
that goes for others. I know Dr. Barrow was in here. They spitballed a bunch of ideas at me, and we sat there in a 2-hour conversation about ideas and how to work things and how to get things going and how to get stuff on podcast form and on the different platforms. Like, I am here. I'm an open book to help people. Rising tides truly raise all ships, and if you guys need help, let me know. That's what I'm here for.
yeah, same here. I mean, for anyone that's from Epic's community, which you guys are awesome, by the way. Thank you so much for being here and just watching us talk or listening to us talk if you're busy doing something else. But yeah,
Listen to me preach. I feel
Preach?
bad now. I'm like,
Preach?
"God, I sound like I'm preaching."
you're not preaching. Oh, no, no.
I'm gonna sit here and drink my coffee.
So, yes, real quickly, Rossi Mama, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to Save Me with all those natural 20s. You're awesome. But as I was saying before, guys, if my community or your community needs help, if you're thinking about starting up streaming, I've got tips. I'm sure Epic has got a shit ton of tips. I mean, look at his follow account. I looked there, literally 2 hours before we started this, because I was like, I'm really interested. Like, how's he doing? And I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, 1.56. Is it 1.56? I think it's 1.56. K.
I honestly I only check like once every week or two, but yeah, it's like 1.6, 1.7, somewhere around there.
And I remember
1.5.
you when you were back down to 400.
I remember when I was 0. So
I mean, obviously you would. I mean, but yeah, no, it's seriously impressive. Like, you've come so far. You really have. You have. No worries, buddy. No worries. I'm just saying what I'm telling. But yeah, that is a lot to think about. What we've just been talking about, virtual tabletops, digital tools, being kind to one another, helping each other out, because that's what Twitch should be. If you see someone struggling, it should be, but it's not, because people like to be selfish a lot of time on Twitch. I've gone around and
I'm gonna try not to go on a rant. I'm trying not to.
I know. Me too. I'm trying not to. I'm like, okay, table, breathe.
Breathe. Who's
But yes, no, definitely. If you see someone that needs help, or or they're struggling, or they're becoming disinterested in streaming simply because there's no one talking, go in and say hi. It'll make their day. It really will.
Yeah.
Now, I've got another topic for us to talk about, and we kind of went into it a little bit.
Okay.
And see, I have been going around a lot, and I've looked at different sources and different ways to help new DMs and that sort of thing. And I've run into a lot, and I mean a lot, of AI, especially in the storytelling department.
Yes.
And whilst that's great and everything, personally, my point of view, AI can only do so much. It can literally do so much with what you give it, and then it's repetitive. I've looked on what is it? It's the Forge. I think it's Forge or Fey Forge. One of those. And that's all like AI based, help you do your campaign shit. But what's your views on AI being used, especially when it comes to creative development in D&D?
All right, so I might get pushed. I know there's a lot of AI haters out there in the world, and here's my thought: AI is a tool. It is not your end product. I've started using it as far as the GM goes to track my notes. I'll type in, here's what happened in the game today. Something quick. It doesn't, and it can be sloppy.
Right.
It can be super sloppy. Here's what happened. Here's a recap of the game. Here's what the characters did. It can be sloppy. It can be kind of loose. It can be whatever, because you remember what happened. I'll type that in, and I'll just do it. I'll be like, here's a recap of the game. I don't need anything from you, AI chat. And it saves it. Send. Boop. It goes in there. Well, it keeps a backlog. I have one file for a game. I run the old school 3 campaign. And I just started doing this, I don't know, a month ago, 2 months ago. So I typed on all the stuff. And so I'll ask questions. I'll like, what is this? Or, whatever information I need. We're going to this city. I'll go into the description in the Paizo description of the city. I'll be like, this is the city we're going to. Boop. AI already knows, like, you can use AI to help. You can build a character, import it to your whatever your AI is, and be like, am I making any mathematical mistakes? And
Right.
It goes, your base attack bonus. Recheck your math on that. Here's what I think it should be. Oh yeah, I was wrong. Thank you, ChatGPT, for redoing the math for me.
Yeah.
Well, I have for that RPG, I have all these notes that I put in, right? Here's the thing. And then it comes stream time, right? And I go, here's the back notes. I need, as far as producing a show, right? As far as producing the show, I go, hey, can you recap? Can you give me a write-up of the recap and potentialities of where this story could go for the YouTube description?
Right.
Or could you here's the thing, could you write a comprehensive recap of everything I just typed but make it look pretty? Right? Like, I could sit there and I could edit and I could do whatever and I could do all of that kind of stuff. I could spend 5 hours doing it. I could. Or I could just be like, I've already given you all my notes. I've given you all the information. Make it look kind of pretty for me.
Exactly.
And then I could put that paragraph in there.
Mm-hmm.
But also at the same time, I can say, here is the city of Corvosa. Here is my description. And I will write up, here's my write-up. I will write my intro to the players. The city looks like this and that and that and this and this and that. Take that, put it into the algorithm. Be like, can you take this? Can you improve upon it? Can you take actual facts that are facts and put them in there, things that I might not realize, and give me a more comprehensive little detail. Sure. So like I'm still using all of my work. It's all of my words. It just helps me clean it up. I do this on my own on the side. I don't have time for it. I don't have the money and I don't have the time for to get an editor, right?
No, exactly.
And it's for a game. It's for an RPG for friends. It's great. So for that, I think that it can be useful. Do I think that ChatGPT or any of the other AI bots should run your game for you? No, because then what's the point? Why are you even GMing?
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
sit down. Just sit down and let them play. Just leave the table and just put up your computer screen and just be like, type in what you want, guys.
Yeah, exactly. It's stupid because it's like it takes out the fun. Because the main
Yeah.
thing about DMing is the fun of building your own world. If you take away that, you're just playing by something that somebody else wrote, and it's just kind of like, well, I could have had this in there if I don't done it myself, and yeah, it just
Yeah.
takes a lot of the fun out of it. So yeah, I 100% agree, and
And it's great for sandboxing
yeah,
too. You sandbox and somebody's like, you get into a thing, it's like, oh yes, and there's a wall and there's all these riddles on the wall and they're incomprehensible for whatever, and they're like, can I make a linguistics check? Sure, I'll make the DC absurdly high. There's no way you're gonna. Okay, you made that roll. Now I need to make up what that riddle says. Open
exactly.
up ChatGPT that has my backdrop. They're in the palace of whatever, a thing to Iomade. Can you give me a riddle that refers to Iomade? Boop, riddle. Here's the riddle, guys.
Yeah, I mean that it.
On the fly, riddles, poetry, songs. That's all things that like Chat AI on the fly for things that you're not expecting the players to do that you might not be good at. Some people are like, yeah, I don't need any. I can make up a song on the fly that's comprehensible and makes sense to the story. But other people, they can't do that. Some people aren't sandbox GMs.
No,
They just
exactly.
aren't.
Yeah,
GMs have their own. Every GM is a little bit different, has different tools that they have, and different types of games they're good at. So, luckily, I haven't had to use that yet for that, but it is a tool that I recognize.
I mean,
So, in some places, yeah, AI is okay. In other places, yeah, do it yourself.
it's okay for an assistance, as in
Right.
you you create the game, you just ask it to. I just said in perfect words, look pretty. Um,
Look
and
pretty. Yeah,
then
make it look
yeah,
pretty.
thing is, there were moments in my campaign where, again with the whole riddle thing, there was a sphinx, and I lost the notes for the riddles for the sphinx,
Yeah.
and I was stunned. I was like, oh shit, like what am I gonna do? And I was just like, okay, quickly, chat GPT, blah blah blah. This is where they are. This setting, do this, and yeah, it does help. It really does help to get you out of tight spaces.
Yeah. It's a tool. Yeah,
It's a tool.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It is a tool.
It's a
It's
tool. It's not the
assistance.
GM. You're the GM. Period.
Exactly.
End of subject. Okay, maybe not period. End of subject. Well, and
Of
also like if you have weaknesses, have it fill in your weak spots when you need it.
exactly, and it can also help you out with challenge rating, as well. It's very
Yeah.
good at looking through um, different areas of stuff and just kind of goes, hey, yeah, this is how you do the challenge rating stuff, but this is what I would suggest. So, yeah, just
Yeah,
one of those things.
it's great. I really like writing. Not to say it again. This is me repeating myself, kind of. I
No.
really like. We did an intro to the a city in Pathfinder. It's Caliphas, which is like kind of your gothic vampire-y city.
Okay.
And so I took what I knew and I wrote up kind of what I wanted for like when you enter the city of Caliphas, the smoke fills the fog fills the air in this creepy gothic city. The castle, whatever the name of the castle is, looms above the city, looking over it, like a majestic, like a dark majestic creature, looking over its children. All of these smaller buildings around the giant cathedral, look the same structurally as the cathedral itself, even though the cathedral was made years after. Blah 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 blah.
Right.
It sits on Lake Carthen. So I type all that in there, right?
Of course.
Make it look pretty. What it gave me back was so like awe-inspiring. As like I got chills. I was reading it. I was like, it was my words, but made to look pretty.
Yeah.
And so when the stream came around and I read it, I was like, oh my gosh! I spent hours. I spent literally probably an hour and a half writing and rewriting what I wanted, and I still knew it wasn't great because I'm not a writer. But I fed that in, and it just took my words and, like we said earlier, it made it look pretty. And when I read it online, when I read it to the people playing, I got chills because I'm like, I can perform anything that's written down fairly well, but something that's written fairly well to read was amazing. So yeah, it was, as far as the live stream goes, as a GM. Sorry, again, repeating myself.
It's okay.
But I just had to it was a specific story that happened recently where I had goosebumps. It was kind of just, again, taking your own things and doing it. So I'll shut up now and drink the coffee.
No, you're perfectly fine. You're okay. You don't need to apologize. Again, this show's all about you. Okay, it's me asking you questions and you giving me answers.
It's your show.
No, sir.
I'm here for you.
Sir, excuse me, sir. We are here for you. Okay, all right. But yes, no, I completely agree. And as you said before, AI can turn gold to diamond if done properly. There you go. Yeah. That's the best way to put it. But it's time for a game. It's time for you to grab that D20, sir. Okay.
I was the first one in our group to have a handmade, hand-knitted dice bag like 15 years ago. Somebody made it for a Christmas thing, and I won it. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. It doesn't fit my dice very well, but it's cool. And now everybody's got them. Everyone's like, oh, did somebody get this? I'm like, I didn't even know those people. Those people didn't even know about role-playing. And I had this. All right. I have a die 20. This is...
fantastic.
This is the one that doesn't match the rest of the set. And it's usually my main die 20.
Brilliant.
For good or for bad. I am notoriously known for having bad dice rolls when I'm a player, but good dice rolls when I'm a GM.
I mean, hey, I personally wouldn't know what it's like to be a player, but as a GM, many dice have gone to Dice Prison, and they have not seen the light of day since. So
we did stat blocks, D&D stat builds where you don't roll your dice for your stats because of me.
Really?
When they introduced the point buy system, our entire group said we're doing that so that Nick can play a character. Because my dice rolls were so notoriously bad, like well known. I could not make any character because my dice rolls. If they'd be like, "Oh my God, you got a 14! Congratulations! You got above a 20 on 2 of your rolls. Congratulations!"
I feel that. Whenever I was rolling stats for monsters or homebrew monsters, I'm like, "These are really low. Help me, please." Then obviously point buy, I was like, could use that. Let me explain the game to you, Nick. Okay, yes, right. Use your first name.
Okay.
Here's how it's gonna work. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to roll for insight. You will roll that d20, and I will ask you a question based on your roll. Now, it goes from weird to weirder. So, normal to weird, depending how low you get. As everyone knows, a natural one is pretty shite. Let's be honest with each other. But it's also funny. Don't worry, I'm not going to embarrass you. I promised you before. Behind the scenes, there'll be no embarrassing.
Embarrass me. I embarrass myself. If you watch the streams, you know I embarrass myself all the time.
True. Let me rephrase it. Nothing that's going to put your stream of life in jeopardy.
Oh, okay.
There we go. So is that better? Does that work?
Sure.
Fantastic. Brilliant. So, I would like for you to please roll for insight. Tell me what you get.
14! Yeah, stayed on
14.
I was like, I need to get it on camera so it shows it falling out of my thing.
Perfect.
And it bounced. I was like, oh, that was pretty high for it to bounce and roll.
I mean, 14's good, though. Okay.
It's okay. Yeah, it's about 10.
So, with a 14, the magic from the dice itself seems to sparkle alive as the genie appears in front of you and goes, "Describe your favorite NPC you've created to me." and tell me why it's your favorite.
There is an NPC, and I can't say it's my favorite, but right now it stands out in my mind. A group of friends we're playing with. One hates puns, and I don't even remember where I based it off of. But the idea. Oh, I do remember. Have you ever seen the movie A Knight's Tale?
Yes, I have. One of my favorites.
Chaucer, the actor that plays Chaucer, who is also Vision in the Marvel universe, he plays this character named Chaucer, and I was like, that's this really cool character, and he is like the herald of the group. He's like, my friends in Roman whatever, and I was like, I liked the term of he is a herald, and I was like, what if there was a bard who was a herald, and his name was Harold. Harold the Herald.
Harold.
And so I introduced the character, and it was in a pirate campaign. And but he was like, whoever had the role of the time, I don't want to say Pirate King, but the Pirate Lord of whatever. Well, he was kind of like the bard who introduced all of the other pirates or whatever. And so he himself was part of this pirate world. The whole thing was based on, it was a D&D world that my friend had created, that I kind of eventually stepped in and helped develop the world and the concepts of the world. And it was called the 10,000 Islands is the name of the world. And instead of most D&D campaigns are good versus evil, this was law versus chaos. So law had good and evil in it, and the chaos had good and evil in it. But the whole concept of the game was law versus chaos, not good versus evil. And so most of the characters were pirates of varying degrees, and it didn't matter if you were good or evil because you weren't really turning on each other. I mean, you could because you're pirates, but they're pirates, and they're all about the chaos and the freedom, whereas the bad guys were the law and the order and the organization, because everybody wanted to play a pirate game.
Of course.
And so this NPC I created was called Harold the Herald, mostly because one guy just hated, the main GM, just hated puns. And that was just this character that just like, I knew the concept, he would hate it, but he would also love the way I did it.
Right.
And so I made Harold the Herald, and he was very, very much the bard. He was very much the Chaucer from A Knight's Tale, the way he was very irritating, but he was very good at what he did, that he could get the people out of almost any situation, and he was so lovable, but at the same time, he was also like, well, he had his vices. And so, I don't know, I just thought it stands out to me. Harold the Herald, the name stood out. It was a bard. I am very much a rogue-ish, not just like rogue the class, not like thief, but like rogues in general, rogues and bards of all the various types. That's my type of character to play. And so when I get to make an NPC that's kind of like that as well, I can make a million of them. And Harold the Herald as an NPC will very often stand out, and I've used him on multiple occasions in other games with people that have no idea who that is.
Of course, yeah.
So for now, Harold the Herald, who is a herald for pirates, and is kind of immune. He was immune. Like he'd come across the bad guys and be like, "You're a pirate." He's like, "Yeah, but I'm Harold the Herald," and they're like, "Okay, you can go in," sort of thing. He was kind of immune to the whole thing. He could play all of the sides, and he could get away with damn near anything because he was just a really good bard.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of.
So, Mr. Genie, that is Harold the Herald.
Fantastic! Harold the Herald. I see. And Harold is a herald, as he should be. As, he disappears back into the dice. And ta-da! That was the roll of insight, and that was a very interesting story. You could say it was very insightful.
Insightful.
Anyway, here's a good question though. I don't know if I've got the dice.
Can I ask you a question?
Oh, there's a segment for that. I have included one.
Oh, okay.
Don't you worry. You will get the ability to ask any question that you could possibly want, as long as it's not,
I'm gonna forget by then, but I'll try and remember. Should I write it down? Maybe I should write it down.
Yeah. Write down. Make notes.
Making notes. Bacon pancakes. Just kidding.
Bake your pancakes, bake your pancakes. Okay. Hmm. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry, I'm looking at something. Look at my notes. Okay.
Notes are good.
Notes are good. Notes are brilliant. Remember to always take notes for those that play D&D. Don't be that person that doesn't take them and goes, "What's happening?" So earlier on, we talked about your your broad knowledge of Dungeons and Dragons and other tabletop role playing games. Let's delve a little bit more into your GM brain. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Here we go. So, what advice do you have for those aspiring dungeon masters / game masters?
Have fun. Don't take it too seriously.
Fun day to yeah.
Um,
Okay.
Like, don't every GM, especially an aspiring game master. Like, I want to get into game mastering and I want to be Matt Mercer. Don't. You don't want to be Matt Mercer. You don't.
No.
You want to be you. You want to be the first you. You want to be you want to be whatever you're good at.
Exactly.
What do I mean by that? I can't run modules very well. You give me a module, a pre-made thing that Paizo has made, that Wizards of the Coast has made, and you will see me poring over that goddamn thing for 3 weeks, highlighting notes, circling names, writing things down on the side. It will take me weeks, and in the end, it's going to look like a robot delivered a game master session to you. I can do that, and it'll be okay, but it's not what I'm good at.
No.
Now, anybody who's been in my stream who has been there for the Stolen Souls campaign, you hand the GM for that. You give him a module. Here's a module. Matt, take this module. It doesn't matter if you're playing. If you had him a Pathfinder module for the Pathfinder RPG, and you're playing a 5th edition D&D in the world of Forgotten Realms, he will take the Pathfinder game adventure that is set in Galarian in a technological country, and he will throw it in Ravenloft's Barovia for your adventure, and you won't know that it was a module. You will think he is just running it from that he's just running it. You wouldn't know. He will modify it and adjust it exactly perfectly to fit into your campaign, however you need it to fit into your campaign. And if he didn't say he was running a module, you would not know.
Yeah.
Why am I telling you this? Because you as a game master need to find what you're good at and what you're bad at and play to your strengths. Find out where your weaknesses are and work on them, but don't try and be Matt Mercer. Don't try and be something you're not. If you're just learning the game, let your players know you are just learning the game. If you don't know the rules, let them know you don't know the rules.
Right.
They
exactly.
want to play. Your players want to play.
Precisely.
Also, don't. It is secondary. This goes to players and GMs. It's not a GM versus player. You are not trying to beat the GM. Yes, you're in combat. Yes, you've got to beat the bad guys. You're trying to beat the bad guys that the GM put on the table as part of the story. Your job is to not beat the GM. You as a GM, your job is to not make it difficult for your players. Your job is to make your players have fun. And there's a difference. If that means your players die so that they can come back in some miraculous way, if the dice rolls happen to be bad, like, you don't have to flub your rolls. It just depends on your players. But just make sure that they're enjoying themselves and getting what they want out of it. Then it doesn't matter. So those are kind of some of my main points for new GMs. And not to plug it, but I did a whole show called the Game Masters Workshop. I think it was like 8 episodes long, where we had people from the industry answering all of the questions that new players and new game masters have.
Right.
And you can find it on YouTube somewhere. You just go to the Epic Realms page and look for the Game Masters Workshop playlist. But yeah, it's all, if you're a new game master, it answers pretty much all of the questions. And the questions, we stopped the show because the questions were the same. Everybody has the same questions. How do I start a group? How do I find people? What do I do if somebody isn't going along with the story? What do I do with disruptive players? How do I, how do I build a storyline? How do I build my own campaign world? Those are kind of the top. Those are the questions that every new player always, or every new game master always asks, and they're great questions. They are. Those weren't the questions that needed to be asked.
No.
And in my opinion, those aren't the questions that needed to be asked because that stuff's easy.
Yeah. No, I get that. And I mean, it's funny how you talk about you having your very own game master, little mini series, or rather the workshop. Because I used to do the exact same thing here on Twitch. I used to do the Dungeon Master workshop. So it was two sides of the same coin, sort of thing. Where I talked about how dice, like fudging your dice rolls, can be beneficial. Because obviously, say your creature is on a couple of hit points and everyone else is basically dying. You don't want to be the DM where you absolutely one-shot the entire party. So say they go up against like a young red dragon, a young adult red dragon. You don't want for their final moments to be a big fiery breath, because there's no coming back from a big fiery breath if you read the spells of Revivify or basically any spells that brings about the dead. Thank you so much for the follow there, Pixel Nix. Welcome to Table Me, all those after 20s. But yeah, so...
Hi, Pixel.
Yeah, Pixel's here. Also,
Pixel's a role player. She's also a really awesome RPG person.
Oh, God. Yeah, you got so many cool people in your community.
Pixel's amazing. I love Pixel. She's one of my moderators.
Well, she's awesome. She's amazing.
She is awesome.
She's awesome.
She is.
But yeah, as I was saying, hello there. But yeah, so what was I saying? I was talking about the dice rolls and that sort of thing. I agree, 100%. What Epic has said is 100% the truth. Don't be like somebody else, please, please. No one likes someone who's trying to copycat off of another DM. Yes, take the knowledge that you have from, for example, Matt Mercer with his extremely good voice acting skills, and learn voice acting, of course. Just don't copy the whole niche.
Well, and the show's...
Go on.
For something like that, the show is produced, so you don't get to see when they screw up.
No,
because they edit that out.
Yeah.
You don't get to see the some of the downtime or where did I put my notes? Where's I can't find. Give me a second, guys. To let me look up that rule. They don't do that. They'll cut away to the players. Like the players will say something, but it could be 5 minutes. You don't know when they cut from him looking up a rule to the players. There could be 5 minutes between that cut that they just completely cut out. So keep in mind that is a produced, edited show.
It is.
Whereas when, if you look at some of the live shows they do at conventions, it's a little bit different. You don't get that editing. And a lot of times they don't look up the rules. They don't get time to look it up. They're just like, I'm going to go with this because we're on a live convention. This is what I'm going to say has happened. We can look up the rules later, and then, we can go from it there. So.
Or even then, sometimes I'll have an earpiece in and someone's in the background reading the rulebook. I've seen many live D&D things where they're listening to somebody as they're talking.
Or you have someone like Brennan Lee Mulligan, who's basically a genius and has the book memorized and has a photographic memory of the rules.
I mean, Brennan Lee Mulligan. I'm just saying right now. If you ever see this live stream and you want in on this, just
Yeah, same. Ditto. I like Brennan Lee. He's great.
Okay. Awesome. So that was some really good advice of that. And again, yeah, be yourself. Don't be someone else. So when I first started off DMing, I always found it really difficult to try and balance that narrative and player agency. How do you manage it?
I didn't
You didn't?
for the longest time. I just wanted to hang out with my friends. Really, and I would always. I was a player first. Was always a player first, but I always have stories in my mind. This is a cool story I want to tell. How do I tell this story? And I would tell the GM, whoever the forever GM is, I want to run a game because I have this really cool idea. And then I would run a one-off here or a one-off there. Or the GM would leave and I'm like, I can take over the game. You know, the GM, something happened. They can't make it. Their parents, they move away. Whatever the reason is. I'll take over the game. Because I do have stories. I have ideas that would do, whether I pull them, you know, early on in my youth, I was literally ripping off pop culture movies and stories and cartoons or whatever that I had watched growing up. And I'm literally just running the players through shit that I've watched on TV that they've never seen before.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I want to, or this is a moment I want. This is a very special moment I want my players to have. I'm going to spend 12 game sessions to build up to this one moment. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it started out. Recently, very recently, we talked earlier about be yourself, right?
Yeah.
And this is always a thing that I've always suggested. And like most people, they don't take their own advice. And I didn't. For many years, probably 10, 15 years, I had stories that were in my head. And I'm like, this is a story I want to tell. I'm like, because I could make a really great 1 through 20. I love to have any game that I'm running, I like to have there be an end. I want my players to feel like they weren't just left hanging. Like, this game just kind of stopped. What happened?
Right.
I want them to have a conclusion to their story. I want every individual character in the game to have a beginning, a middle, and an end to their overall story, to the campaign. It's a lot of work. And it's really draining and difficult for me to put that together. I am for the most part a sandbox GM. I like to let the players have a little bit more agency. And I still want to tell these stories.
Right.
But I turned myself into, you remember how I explained, like, you give me a module and I'm stuck? Right. I would make a module and then I would hand it to myself. And then I'd have to follow it to the letter. And then I'd be miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And my players wouldn't necessarily know. They'd get this cool story, but it was really a pain for me and it was really challenging. And I was constantly looking in the mirror going, I suck as a GM. I'm not delivering. I would have struggles. I would cancel games because I just was struggling with whatever the plan was or what the idea was or where I was going to go, or I didn't have enough time to prep.
Right.
It was horrible. And then this particular game that I was doing on stream, the Old School 3, I had a friend wanted to take over and run it, and then another friend wanted to take over, and then they left us in a place where I didn't want the story to go and I didn't have anything, and my other friend was like, hey, I've actually got an adventure that takes place in the Plane of Fire, which is where you guys ended up at the end of this adventure, that I didn't plan to start off the adventure in the Plane of Fire. They had an adventure for it. And, okay, well, you take over. Then somebody else is like, oh, I'd love to have these characters do this. I'm like, okay. Right. During this time, I was having a conversation with my wife about exactly what we were just talking about that. And I had just done an interview for someone else or talk similar to this. I think it was Classic Sam. And they asked me a very similar question. And I answered the question. And when I answered the question and when I was repeating the conversation to my wife, I realized I wasn't taking my own advice. No. And I sat down and I made a list of all of our friends, what they're good at when they're game mastering, what they're bad at game mastering. I remember it wasn't on that. It was the last episode of the Game Masters Workshop I did. I talked about with them what their strengths were in role playing and what they thought they were. And I was sitting there going, I suck as a GM. These guys are all better than me. I'm not good. What am I good at? What is my strength? And it came up like, Nick, if nobody knows what's going on and there is no plan, and we sit down at a table and you just tell people grab a pre-generated NPC with no prep time, you are the GM we want. And I was like, I tried to hold back tears on the stream because I was like, that means a lot to me. But also, I hadn't been doing that. I haven't been doing that in 15 years.
Right.
That was my strong suit, and I wasn't doing it. So telling a narrative is great. Balancing it with what the characters are doing is great. But again, go back. What are your strengths? And so you'll see now, since I retook over the old school 3, I know in my own brain, if you watch that show, me running the old school 3 now is a completely different game than the last time I was running it before all of the cameo GMs. It was a different game. I was running it differently. And now it seems everybody gets to shine a lot better.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm telling a better story, and I am having fun with it, and everybody can tell.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's important.
Okay.
Whether you're telling you don't need to balance it. If everybody wants to roll dice, there are players that just want to roll dice. They don't want to tell a story. They want to roll the dice and they want to kill stuff. They want to role play, ROLL play. They don't want to ROLE play. That's what the players want. Great. Everybody's got a different thing, so I don't think you need to balance it. I think you just need to make sure everybody's having fun and make sure that you as a GM also are having fun and play to your strong suits, and that's what matters.
Exactly.
The balancing it, you don't need to.
No, I mean, again, yeah, if both parts are having fun, then
Short story long.
yeah, no.
Instead of long story short, short story long.
Yeah. No, but it's definitely true. Like, I mean, I'm the exact same. I am a sandbox DM. I do not like following the modules because it's just robotic. You're just repeating shit which you're reading, and it's terrible. It's not terrible. Like, obviously the people that made the books have gone into a lot of work and they've created fantastical worlds, but your players will know if you're just reading something off of a page.
Right.
Like,
unless you're really good at that.
Unless you're really good at it. Unless you're good at like masking it, or kind of being able to riff off of this and.
Yeah.
No. I
or if you wrote it up once and then you shifted it into an AI and then it came back and you read it a couple times,
Yeah, exactly. Like one of those things. But again, if it is your own words,
I do that when I'm having fun. So
yeah, no, you're fine. That's what we're here for. We're here to have fun. We're to chat. We're to laugh. So don't you worry. Don't you worry your little head about us. Going off of what you said previously about using pop culture, I'm probably going to shoot myself in the foot here, but I am fully guilty. I am guilty of doing this, but not in the way that would be interpreted as just going off of pop culture references. Mine's more Easter eggs, because I'm sure I've told you before, haven't I? It's about previous campaigns. I think it was the Camelot one.
A little bit.
Yeah.
When I came into your chat once, you were telling me some of the ideas, but then you were like, I can't say too much more about. There was something else you were talking about too, and you're like, I can't say too much more because some of the players are watching. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Oh, right. That's a brand new campaign that I'm running up. Yeah, that one. Echoes of Eternity. It's a good one. It's a time loop one. It's pretty repressive. So yeah, it's as you go ahead with DMing and that sort of thing, don't focus on trying to balance it. I mean, obviously have some sort of inkling on how to, but don't go into it and go, okay, everything needs to be perfect. Everything needs to have balance. Everything needs to be this and that. And, if you're doing it online, you're bound to mess up. You are bound to speak over one of your players, or just in general manage to speak over anybody. it's one of those things. Well, this is gonna happen. Here's a good little thing. Shit, everyone's on break currently. Who's still here? Raise your hand up in chat if you can still hear
I'm
me.
here.
I
There
mean,
are people on answer.
I know you're here. I'm asking those.
Oh.
No, I'm joking. I'm messing around. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I'm sorry.
Not you. You're not important, Epic.
Yeah, no, fuck you, dude. Like, what the fuck you doing here? No, nobody clip that. I don't want that to be the first impression made on my channel with the tabletop roles.
It's gonna be the highlight. That's gonna be the clip. What's in the trailer for this episode? Well, F you, Epic.
Fuck you, Epic. Like, no. But yeah, I was gonna ask the chat to drop a couple of questions because I know that.
You can always type it into chat.
Yeah.
Be like, chat, ask a couple questions. As I'm sitting here with my fingers.
As I'm seeing,
I'm still here.
diddling my
Kim's still
fingers.
here. Ba-dum-bum, ba-dum-bum, ba-dum-bum.
Kim's still here.
Chat can ask questions.
Hello.
Kim is still here.
Hello, you.
Hello, Kim, and welcome to the show.
Kim is my.
Thank you for joining us right here on Tabletop Rules.
Kim is my lovely girlfriend who is currently supposed to not be on the phone because they're driving. Oh, here we go. Pixel goes, what is a moment from DM/GMing that you are particularly proud of?
There's a couple, but there's one that always stands out in my brain. Always. It is the first we did a 3-day long game. It was set in D&D 3.5. Everybody was epic-ish. They were all in the 15 to 25th level range. My main character was a pirate. I had played a pirate long before Jack Sparrow became a thing. Eventually it evolved a little bit. I may have been second edition. But I had a story that I wanted to tell that took place in the Pirate Isles of Forgotten Realms. Now, if you're not familiar with the Forgotten Realms, if you're not familiar with the Pirate Isles, there is one island that has this kind of rule on it that there's no fighting is allowed. They're not allowed to have any infighting. And I don't remember if I made it up or if I read it in the history annals of time, the reason, but the last pirate king, Emmerich, he basically that was the rule. They didn't know why that was the rule, but it was kind of a curse and bad things would happen. And it was really cool because all of the players, they followed the rule. No combat on the island.
Right.
They were very superstitious that something bad might happen. So they didn't follow it. So I didn't have to actually come up with what would happen if you did fight on the island. They followed it to the T. So I built up this huge story about this thing, and there were like multiple pirates, and they were like fighting other people. Again, it was 3 days long, 8 a.m. to like 10 p.m. for 3 days straight of gaming, telling this big story. And in the end, and I was building this no fighting island, the island thing, because of the previous king. And the whole thing was because I wanted to tell this really cool story about them being the backdrop. And this is a fun trick of mine. When I am not the GM of a world, if there is a story about my character that I want to tell, and I want it to be told in a specific way, I will GM the story, but that is the backdrop of the greater adventure. So the players get to play through the adventure, and that is part of the story that they are the part of. It's not his story. They get to just be part of that story happening, and because of them, that story takes place.
Of course.
Well, they eventually realize that you have to to become the Pirate King, you have to defeat the Pirate King. But the Pirate King's dead, so nobody has ever become the king. The Pirate King. It's never happened.
Okay.
Well, they end up finding out, like, deep down below, there's a whole secret underground area, and all of the players end up down there, and they get there because my character had found his way down there first, and they followed his path trying to figure out where he went. Again, there was all kinds of other stuff, stories, leads, ties in, puzzle pieces to try and get them to this place. building up a lot of this backstory of the islands and what it means, and the Imra King story and everything. And they get down there, and my character had woken up the corpse of the old Pirate King, and that Pirate King was attacking my character. And I went round by round. This round happens. The Pirate King attacks my character. Attack, 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 attack. It's like 5 attacks around. My character is not defending himself. My character had already solved the puzzle. He knew what he had to do. In the story, I had Imric swing at him, hit, cut his throat. He couldn't talk. So he couldn't tell the players anything during this fight. And every round, it was like 4 or 5 rounds that they were watching this fight. They couldn't interfere because they didn't want to fight, because the rule of the island is you're not supposed to fight. They didn't want to interfere. It was 5 rounds before one of our friends, who is a very big pothead, back before it was legal, very big pothead, he was known to be not the bright one in our group. He is not known to be the problem solver of our group. Not at all. He's the one that solved the entire game while this fight was happening. And he steps up, he's like, "Hey!" And he yells at the Pirate King, and he goes, "You're not, just because it's your rule doesn't mean it doesn't apply to you. You're not allowed to fight on this island either." Yells it to the Pirate King. That was the puzzle. That was the 3-week campaign. Somebody had to realize that the Pirate King wasn't allowed to fight, which is why my character was not fighting back. Had they not done that, my character would have died, and that would have been the end of my character, and I put it in the player's hands. And everybody stopped what they were doing. Like, all the players at the table, they knew that they weren't allowed to jump in the fight. They didn't even realize that the dude was fighting. They're like, "Holy shit." And they all looked at him. And it was like, for me, it was cool because for him, it was his proudest moment, because you have all these genius role players, all these people that have been doing it for years. And here, the dude that was least likely to solve the problem solves it all on his own, does it in game. The character realizes it. The Pirate King looks at him, looks at me, and disintegrates and just falls apart because the curse hit him and he no longer ceased to exist. And thus, my character, who was the one fighting him, defeated him, and gets escalated to that role. Right. But it was really cool to see. And again, telling the story isn't as cool as having been there for 3 days straight, 12 hours at a time, telling the story and building it up. And like demons, there were demon pirate ships and them fighting things and trying to get pieces of the puzzle all the way to get down to this area, and to finally go, "This is the puzzle. The players have to figure out that the dude's not supposed to be fighting on his own thing. He is susceptible to his own curse," and calling him out on it, because somebody has to call you out on it.
Mm-hmm.
And they called him out on it. And, that was it. And it was just really cool. I will always be proud of that moment, because that was an entire weekend. I had a plan. There was still a lot of sandbox. Everybody who was there, running 12 to 15 players at a time, when they're epic, when they're 20th level plus in 3.5, is not an easy task.
No.
And to tell a complete story from beginning to end over the course of 3 days was very special and very satisfying to me. And that moment in particular was, as a GM, was really, really cool.
Yeah, that it sounds cool. I mean, even how to word this properly, even the most unsuspecting of players, or rather unsuspecting to yourself, that they'll figure something out, and then they finally do it, and that right there is the money shot.
It was great.
That was like, yes.
And people still reference it. They'll still talk about that game in our friend group. And our friend who did that is no longer with us, which is sad. But yeah, I always look fondly on that moment. When I think of him, I think of that moment. So
that is always a really good memory to have. And I'm sorry for your loss. I'm going to guess that type of loss. Yeah. My thoughts and prayers and my condolences.
Sorry, I didn't expect that. But
it's okay. It's probably fine. Hey, it's cool. Again, if you need that.
It's gaming. I mean, when you game with people, especially friends, like, gaming brings you together.
It really does.
I'm going to go off on a little tangent here. Not that I haven't done that about 30 times already.
No, go ahead.
This particular friend, he was always in the wrong crowd.
Yeah.
Gangs, drugs, you name it, always in the wrong crowd, getting into fights, all of that kind of stuff. And regardless of all of that, we brought him into our group to role play. And I honestly think role playing saved him from, a horrible life, a violent life. I think gaming and friendships and including people into your gaming space, even if they might not belong, is important.
Most definitely.
And while, he left us because of a heart attack, but I think he would have been gone a lot sooner. And I don't think he would have led as good of a fulfilling and happy life as he did had we not just accepted into our GM group, regardless of how irritating he might have been or how abrasive he might have been. And like he never went back to any kind of hard drugs. He smoked pot and stuff, but like he never people that he was close to died from gang violence or hard drugs at a very young age, and he came with us to role play when he could have gone to them to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he became one of my he was in my wedding. He was one of my groomsmen. And I truly think that gaming saved him from a worse life. And so that's why I'm like, let everybody in. Gaming is an inclusive space. Everybody should be included. Don't gatekeep. Don't be like, well, that person's not a gamer. Everybody can be a gamer. Everybody's allowed in. It's a space for everyone. So let people into your games. Teach people how to role play. If you have room, if you have time, if you have space, if people want to play with you, let them in. Don't judge them because they're different. Let them into your gaming space. It will bring a cool perspective to your gaming world.
And you never know.
The end.
You you could be seriously helping them. Like
Right.
people are struggling with these not visible conditions, or health issues, or it could be mental health. Always be kind. That's just it. Just if
Be kind. Be kinder. Be kinder than you feel.
exactly exactly be kinder than you feel. Even though just be kind in general. It doesn't matter. Just be kind. Just round the board. Would you like to take 10 minutes?
I'm good. I mean, if you want to take a 10-minute, I'm good. But I might wipe my eyes here, like this, and be like, "There we go." But we're good.
Are you
I'm
sure?
pro sometimes. I'm good.
Okay. All right. Just I do care about the guests which come on, and that
No,
was
no,
very.
I'm good. That's here's the thing, that a story like that is important,
It is.
and I don't mind. I don't mind being vulnerable in a moment, especially telling a story like that. It's important. And if that can help someone else, then I'm all for that. So I'm not concerned about that. I'm not concerned about showing vulnerability. I think that's important.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no.
that does not bother me. That doesn't bother me one bit. But if you need to take a break, if we need to pee, if the viewers need to take a break, that's cool too. But as far as like telling a hard story and telling a sad story, that I don't need to take a break because of that. I'm good. But
Okay.
if you feel like we need to take a break for other reasons, then
I
I'm cool.
think that because I know a lot of people have things. Some people that are watching currently might need it. So we're gonna take a 10-minute break, guys.
Sounds good.
If anybody, and I mean this to literally everyone watching, if any of you are facing challenges or any sort of, any sort of worrisome situations, reach out. Literally, just even if it's just to talk. We are here. Like I'm here to listen. I'm sure Epic is also here to listen, and just please stay safe. Again, like you are a living, breathing human being, or you might associate yourself with something else, and that's okay. But I mean, even goblins. If there's any goblins in the chat that really needs some counseling,
You're a living, breathing goblin.
living, breathing goblin, exactly.
Nice goblin. Nice goblin.
Nice
Not
goblin.
me. I'm not a nice goblin. These are all my dice. This is all I own.
But still, if you need the help, seek it. Don't struggle. But yes, we are going to take a quick 10-minute break. Make sure to go grab a snack, stretch your legs, have a drink. If you smoke, go and have a smoke. Not that I condone it, but please just go and take some self-care. And we'll be back fairly soon. Okay. Epic, go and dry your eyes, buddy. Go,
I'm good.
go and grab a whiskey or rum or something.
Rum.
Where's the rum gone? All right. Anyway, I will see you guys very soon. 10 minutes. I'll be here. Make sure you are too, and we'll continue this conversation. Until then, go and roll those d20s. Get a 20. Hello. How you guys doing? Welcome back. Again. How was everybody's break? Epic, how was yours?
Good.
Good.
I went pee. I ate some apples, and then I sat back down. And I got a refill on my drink. My drink was half below half. I was like, well, I can get another drink.
Well, you had the time. So it's good.
Right.
It's good.
It's good.
It's good. Okay, so guys, do we have any other questions for the lovely Epic Realms? Feel free to drop a couple of questions in there. Who knows? You might have the answer.
I have all of the answers to all of your questions in the universe. They might be wrong, but I have an answer.
Unlimited cosmic power.
Unlimited power.
Yes.
Or is it limitless in Star Wars? Limited. Maybe it is unlimited. I don't know. I don't remember what Palpatine says. I think
Unlimited
it's unlimited
power.
Unlimited. What? And then he force lightning.
And then, burns off most of his fucking skin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody, if that's the case, we'll just slowly...
I'm guessing they all stepped away for break, so they...
Oh, true, yeah. I'll just give me a second.
So...
I did kind of say 10 minutes, and
I've noticed that on my streams when I go to break and then come back, like, takes a while for people to reappear.
they'll be here. It's fine. It's okay.
They're here. Roddy Mom is here. Roddy Mom has been here all stream. Roddy's awesome. Roddy also a mod of mine. Amazing virtual reality streamer.
They all seem awesome, dude. They have stuck through this. Usually, like, people come in, they start watching for a bit, and then they're like, Cause I'm make my way out of here. But they all seem awesome. Especially, I know I shouldn't be looking at the viewer list. I'm just making a point.
I do all the time. I don't. People say don't do it. I'm like, you can't grow if you don't know what's going on.
For example, Curly, thank you so much for being here. I know you haven't spoken. You mainly just kind of, chilled and lurked. You're awesome.
She's taking photos of rocks downstairs.
Is that
Curly Girl's my wife.
Oh.
Yeah, Curly Girl's my wife.
Hello, Mrs. Realms.
She's showing support, but she also has shit to do, so...
Of course. Does this Sunstrider? Am I pronouncing that right?
Dazzle. We
Dazzle.
just say Sun. I just say Sunstrider. Some people say Dazzle. Some people just call him something Sunstrider.
Okay. So, Sun, thank you so much for being here. Lizzie as well. Lizzie Bit, you're awesome. Thank you so much for being here, love. I have recognized you. Don't worry. Thank you so much for lurking.
Well recognized.
You are recognized. Thank you so much for Pixel also being here. You're awesome. And of course, Rossi. Thank you so much. You guys are amazing. As a total newbie, says Rossi Mama, what character do you recommend for me?
If you're making a new character,
The total newbie.
players who are no players, and I know Roddy is newer and has played a little bit, and yeah, Pixel has helped Roddy a bit. This is generally what I say. There is a thing that I've noticed in my 30 years of role playing. New players, they'll make their first character, they'll play, they'll get to learn how to play, and then they want to play something ridiculous. Across the board. I want to play a half-dragon Jedi Samurai ninja that has a bloodline related to a phoenix. That's not an actual thing, I just made it up on the fly.
No, I know.
Don't do that. You'll ruin it for yourself. That character won't be memorable. because they're so ridiculous. You're focusing on the ridiculousness of it for your first character. Um, play something simple so you can learn the game, so you can learn to play. Especially if playing in character, if talking in character isn't a strong suit for you. If the GM goes, "What do you say to the bartender?" and you're like, "Well, I ask for some food or whatever." Or like the bartender might have information. Okay, I ask him if he has information. As opposed to I stroll up to the bartender, "Hey bartender, here's a couple coins. I'll have a beer and maybe here's an extra gold if you know about the house down the road." If those are two separate ways of role playing. If you're not comfortable with the being in character thing, then make a character that makes that easier for you. So if learning the rules is something you're worried about, play something that's a little rules, not so heavy on the rules. So don't play a wizard for your first character. Don't play a sorcerer. Don't play something with a lot of spells. Play something that doesn't have extra things. Like play a fighter, play a rogue. Those are a little bit more rules light characters that you can still do stuff with. You can still be useful to the party, and you can learn how to play a character. Because the GM's job is to have fun and give you a chance to grow as a player. A GM is going to know if you're a new player.
Yeah.
If the GM is a new GM, maybe he won't. But then you have to understand that GM is a new GM, and then you're in the same boat, so it really doesn't matter, right? So play a fighter, because you can have the ridiculous be your backstory. Right? I am a fighter. I am a human fighter. It doesn't get simpler than that. But it's your backstory and how you play them that makes it special. For those that don't know Critical Role, I'm still going to reference Critical Role. Like, yes, Grog isn't human, but look at Grog. He is a fighter. He is not bright. Grog Smash. He can still play within the confines of the story and be dumb and silly and fun, but yet once in a while have a genius moment. Once in a while have a special moment. You can play the big dumb fighter and still role play and have fun and tell a story and learn the system as a new character. And it's a great way to step in and then grow from there. And then your next character might be a little bit more complicated. Your next character might have a better, more complicated backstory. The GM might throw some curveballs during your story. I usually say fighter, but because I love rogues, I think rogues and bards may be more difficult than rogues. Rogues, you can do anything with a rogue. Whatever your concept is, you can do with a rogue. Because you can do it with where you have skills, you can do it where you don't have skills. You can do it where you are a brute that fights. Or you can have it where you're like the cunning mastermind behind the whole thing. You can play a rogue a million different ways. And I think that's a super simple way. So I'd say start with a fighter, start with a rogue, go with something base, nothing complicated. You don't need to be a half dragon, werewolf, vampire, Jedi, ninja, assassin for your first character. You don't. It's so much to keep track of, and so much to worry about, and so complicated, and so ridiculous. You can just be a fighter who's, you can do something stereotypical because nobody else does it. They're like, oh, the fighter who's lost his family in a tragic war. Oh yeah, it's so stereotypical. Nobody does it because it's stereotypical. It's to the point where it's people who are experienced. It's not stereotypical. I wish I had a player who had a backstory where I am just a fighter and my family all died to the war. I've never had that. 30 years. That doesn't happen.
Me neither. I've never once had someone come up with a stereotypical backstory. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love it. Love it when they put in information like different little tidbits and actually research the lore, which I've presented to them and kind of gone down that road.
Right.
But stereotypical backgrounds can give the DM a lot of room to work with and to work on with you.
Especially if you're a new player.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? If you're a new GM, if you're an experienced GM, if a player comes in with a trope, a trope backstory, a stereotypical, a cliche backstory, that's great because it's easy for them because they don't know. They haven't played 30,000 games. So it doesn't matter. To them, it's going to be cool. And to you as a GM, it's like, okay, here's the things I can do with that because I know what this trope is. I know what this, oh, I am the bastard. I'm a warrior who's not too bright, who is the bastard child of some long forgotten, king that doesn't exist in the world. Great. The GM can now make that a thing that happens. Then eventually down the road, maybe you end up with the crown.
Exactly.
And that's cool because yes, other people are like, oh, it's so cliche, but for that player, it's their first time role playing. They don't know what cliche is.
No,
unless they watch movies or TV shows or whatever, or read some of the novels. But even then, they want to play through that. When you read a book, you're reading another character. When you're role playing, you are that character.
Exactly.
So you want to be that trope. You want to be that character. I wish I could play a game where I was the Iron Druid of Kevin Hearn's Iron Druid Chronicles. That would be cool. I want to be the wizard in a Wizard of Earthsea. That's what makes my wizard in our current campaign that's higher level. That's what makes him so special, is because I finally get to play that character I've always wanted to play, that wizard type character that's kind of a druid, but not. I've always wanted to do that. So I get to play that trope that's from a book, and I get to have my own spin on it because I'm an experienced role player. But if I'm a beginner role player, I still get to play that. It's cool.
Yeah.
So
just to go off of that, when I first started playing D&D, I actually based one of my characters off of a book I was reading. It was one of the Stormlight Archive books, and the character was Wit, sassy motherfucker who with a heart of gold, but just absolutely masked it with witty comments and also extreme sarcasm, and I loved it. I loved it. I made him into a Hexblade Warlock because I was like, I could have gone Bard. He plays music, but Eldritch Blast, like. If you want a class to really start off with, and you want it to be a magical class, Warlocks are super simple to follow. Now, given when you level up, it gets a little more complicated, but it's very simple explanations. So if you want to go for Magic Caster, not quite the front line, go Warlock. Never started with Cleric. I was reading the comments, and my blood boiled when I read that.
They had a game and they're like, Ronnie, play a cleric. Here's the thing, clerics get such a bad rep. I always talk about clerics. People are like, nobody wants to play a cleric. I'm like, I'll play a cleric. It's I look back, I think it is ridiculous the amount of because people feel like they're playing a cleric, they're pigeonholed into being the healer. Like when you look at every rendition, from second edition, 3.5, Pathfinder, 4th edition, 5th edition, the cleric is the most, I will say it now, I will say it again, it is the most broken class in the game.
Oh yeah.
Somebody, why is it the most broken class in the game? All right. You are a full on caster like a wizard. You get your spells from divine magic. You don't need to read a book. You just need to ask for it. These are the spells that I want. Boom, you got it. All right. What about your hit points? Oh, well, I'm almost as good as the fighter for hit points. Boom, second best hit points in the game. What kind of armor do you wear? Whatever I want. You mean you can cast spells and armor? Yes, I can. I can cast spells and armor. I have armor. I can wield a weapon as just the second best melee fighter in the game. I have full spell progression. I get full armor. What do clerics not get? They are either the best at everything or they are the second best at everything. They are not the least best at anything. And people are like, I don't want to play the healer. Okay, you have heals, but you grab your mace and you beat the snot out of the bad guys. Oh, and then you heal. And you will 4 plate, so they can't hit you anyhow. I guess in 5th edition it's one step below full plate, but still.
Yeah.
Cleric. Most broken class in the game. Some people will say monks. Nope, cleric. I don't care. I'll fight you for that. I'll die on that hill.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've seen some crazy cleric builds.
But again, challenging because you have all of that stuff to do with. So it is very complicated because you can be a fighter. You get skills. You get skills because you're a cleric. You're a priest essentially. So you have to have some skills as well. and then armor, fighting, combat, spells, keep track of spells, healing, which they're the only ones other than maybe druids, but they're the only ones with the full healing progression of magics. And then if you want to kill a wizard, you send a cleric. A wizard casts a spell, a cleric counterspell, smashes him over the head with a mace. End of story.
Game over the wizard, 110%. I remember, I don't usually do this, but in a campaign I did ages ago, we had a wizard and a cleric, and that was the exact same thing which you just described happening. It was a player it was a PvP, because they got into massive arguments, in which I was like, okay, well, since it's in character, here we go, do it that way. Take out on one another, and it was just the fiercest battle I've ever seen. Given that it was a wizard, so they're a little bit spongy, but
right.
But still such an awesome experience just to see them actually role playing it and not getting pissed off at one another. But yeah, it's really nice to see that, and I agree. Cleric, unless you got a little bit of experience, please don't put yourself through that hell. Love of God, don't do it.
Well, their game master. Their game master is great, but their game master's only been game mastering for a short while.
Exactly.
And so be like, just play a cleric. And he's, like I said, for the amount of experience he has, the amount of time he's been game mastering, he is amazing. He game mastered for us, and like to herd the cats, so to speak, as far as these some of these one-offs we did, like he did as best of a job as he could for what he was given as a game master. So props to Steven the Shark. I love you, buddy. I know you're not here, but I'm saying it anyhow.
No. But yeah, Steven sounds like he's a chaotic neutral person. I just want to throw that out there. He sounds extremely chaotic neutral. He's like, yes,
right.
let it burn.
Right. Pixel knows it more than I do. Pixel can confirm or deny.
Thank you very much, Rossi.
Perfect description. Yeah, Roddy Mama.
Okay. It's time to flip the table. Not literally. Please don't flip me. But you get 3 questions to ask. No, tell you what. Make it 5. Make a monkey's paw a situation.
I don't want a monkey's paw. Just like that's gonna come back to haunt me.
Fine, you've got
no monkey's paw.
You got 5 wishes in the form of questions. Go ahead. Ask away. It's your turn to return.
You asked me earlier about an NPC, right?
Okay.
Maybe it was chat, but it came up in the conversation, and it made me think. Because you're a forever GM, but I know you've gotten to play as a player. You can't say you've never been a player.
Yeah, I've been a player every now and then, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have you made a character as a player? Whether somebody's taking over your game or you're just another one, but you've made a character that either you made once as an NPC and you wanted to play, or you made it as a player and you did it, and then afterwards you're like, I want to use this as an NPC in my game. Do you have a character you've done that with? That either it was an NPC you wanted as a player, or a player. See, here's me repeating the question again, because that's what I do. And then a player make a character as a player and go, I'm going to use this as an NPC down the road. So, and tell us about it.
Okay. So we were in a game where we could be any creature we wanted to be. So I created a mimic. And obviously a mimic, when it's going on scene or on camp or in camouflage, it can move around. People don't know this about mimics. They can grow literal fucking claw-like tendril legs and just drag themselves around. So I created a mimic, who was called Chester. Chester the
Now, is this as an NPC? This is an NPC, or you're making it as a player?
This is me as a player. Talking about a natural example, I created Chester the Bardic Mimic.
Okay.
And his main thing was that he would go around and he would collect treasures. And that was like the whole gag. Can't remember the voice one. I was like, well, hi there, I'm Chester. Nice to meet you. How are you doing? So for those that say that mimics can't talk, let me just rewind. Mimics can talk. It is in the lore. So with mimics, if they are in one spot for a long period of time and they're constantly hearing different phrases being said, they can pick up the vocabulary, or rather, they can mimic it, or almost like a kenku. So, with Chester the Chest, I played through the campaign with him, and I wanted to play to a character. So I had him go off and do his own thing. Like, he collected gold and whatever. His main goal was to sell as many items as possible to perhaps move to a different continent or a different place. And so then I reintroduced him into my games as the friendly mimic shop. And he would always appear, and he'd always go, "Oh, hi there, pal. How can I help you?" In which he would open his shop, and he had a magic wheel which he got from one of the campaigns which I had played with Chester as in. And yeah, this magical wheel, the DM back then said, "Yeah, you can have this magical wheel, but it can only sell magical trinkets. So not magical items, nothing like that, but magical trinkets." So putting that into my campaigns, he would have a special wheel that you'd pay 1 gold to spin, in which you would retrieve a random magical trinket. And yeah, so that is my player character, which got transformed into an NPC, which is Chester, the friendly market chest. I guess mimic. I completely forgot the whole name I gave him. Chester, the friendly chest.
Okay.
But yeah, that is my NPC. That is Chester. Chester is a reoccurring NPC in every single campaign I've ever run, and players love him, especially those with gambling addictions. I had a certain player come in, and he was like, "I want to spend 200 gold." I was like, "That ain't happening," but let's just bring it down a little bit. Okay, 10 gold, fantastic, 10 spins, and people loved gambling away the gold to retrieve these weird, wacky, magical trinket items. I think one of them was a glass bottle with a genie which could only give you advice on wishes, which is pretty impressive. Is pretty nice. But yeah, there you go. There's answer your question. Chest of the chest.
Chester the chest. Nice. I get more questions. All right. Hold on, let me.
More.
Yeah, are you ready? Okay, here we go. Do we redeem stretch? Everybody stretch. Are you prepared?
Yeah, it's that. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Tell me. So you've got the stream. You've got, much like me, you've got the live stream. You've got this show you're doing. What are your next steps? Your next 4 or 5 steps that you wanna take to bring the stream further, or this show further? What are the next steps that you need to take to bring this in the direction you want it to go?
Next steps. So 5 steps. 4 to 5 steps. Okay, so
Yeah, I mean, it could be more, but next handful of steps. I don't want to say where do you see this going, because it's like,
it's a bit
the sky's the
complicated
limit.
that way.
But
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
what is your next handful of steps? The next things you want to do to bring this forward, going forward, to get it to that next level you want to get it to.
Yeah, I would say so 4 steps. Step 1, obviously is going to be talking to people, as in like getting involved in different communities and reaching out to those that would like to be on the show. My second step would literally just to be included in other people's streams and kind of get the name around. Not that popularity is important to me, because it's not. It's more the fact of trying to grow the channel as well as growing together with somebody else. In the works currently, I am in conversations, or rather in speaking terms, with another streamer on this platform that they are given. They possibly started off pretty recently. I want to say 8 months, 9 months. But the name is Sway Queen, and we have been talking about doing some Dead by Daylight stuff together. They've also been on this talk show as well, which there is a previous interview on there. The third step, I possibly bringing up my own confidence. I've noticed that I mumble a lot, that I stutter a lot, and that's mainly due to the social anxiety side of everything. I know that I play the part as the host of a talk show, but deep down, I'm fucking terrified. I have absolutely no idea what the hell I'm saying half the time, and it's, I just need to really build myself up to the point where I can freely, in front of a camera, obviously speak clearly and speak more precisely. My last one, I would really like to get the message out there for those kind of suffering with those invisible ailments. For myself, it's MS. I'll glad to say it. I'm kept secret from anybody here, but I need to spread more awareness for that sort of thing. So that's the whole reason why I do streaming. And once everyone kind of gets the gist of this, they can look into it and possibly help out and that sort of thing. But other than that, it's just build the channel, try and get it up, try and get the voice heard around, and try and help those who need to be helped. There you go.
Okay.
There's the steps.
Do you have a plan on how you're going to build the channel?
And
are you building the Twitch channel or the podcast or both or?
I mean, the Twitch and the podcast are one. This is one and the same thing. I do these interviews on Twitch, yes, and they're there. I then edit them, and then I'm looking to put them back onto YouTube. Kind of have maybe some animators in my inboxes to just go, hey, could you possibly create a really funny animation where we talk and we kind of sat down and possibly sketch some faces and whatever like that, and just really go to town on it. So that's where this is going. The podcast stuff it's going to be spoken about. We're going to get some animation done, and it's going to be great. It's going to be like a really funny little mini series where we talk. We're in our own animation, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm yet to find an animator, so if anyone knows anyone who's good at drawing or possibly animating themselves, tell them to contact me and do it that way. As for the stream side of it, just talking, getting in with different communities, chatting, co-streaming, collabing, as the kids call it nowadays. Collabing.
They do. I was like, I do collab. I'm like, what is that? What? Okay. Sure.
But yeah, that's the main thing there. Just reach out. Just reach out to other people. Go, hey, I know I don't like to think myself as popular or anything like that. I think of myself as, or rather the channel itself, well known. So I'm a slightly well-known streamer within the community in the terms of a lower, mid to low following and that sort of thing. Not that the following doesn't matter. I'm just glad to have everyone here. But yeah, it's helping those smaller streamers, not smaller, less known streamers to elevate to the position where they want to be elevated to. So that's what I got planned for my streams, is including more people, helping more people out, get them to where they want to be, and basically just helping each other grow rather than just focused on one particular.
Rising tides raise all ships.
Exactly. Precisely. But yeah, I've got nothing else. My brain is blank right now.
Your brain is blank. Is there an RPG system you want to play you haven't played yet?
RPG system. What's the?
Do you have a list of RPGs, or is it like D&D for life and nothing else forever?
No, I mean, obviously
Which is fine.
Played,
there are plenty of people that are like D&D for life. That's okay.
I played Pathfinder. I remember playing Pathfinder. Obviously, I played the different modules of D&D. As for other D&D type, well, not D&D types, the role-playing game types, the one which you mentioned before, as in the one which you very first started off of, forgot the name. I'm
GURPS?
A terrible person. Yep.
GURPS? Okay.
GURPS. Yep. I want to try that out. That is definitely on my list. Ever since you started mentioning it, I was like, huh, that could be interesting.
It's complicated. a lot of people poo-poo it. I haven't played it in 15 years, but yeah.
No, I get that. I mean, hey, I'm just up for anything. Like,
Yeah.
if someone suggests something to me and they're like, "Hey, check this out," I'll be like, "Okay, I'll have a little read through it."
I will always suggest Mutants and Masterminds if you
Send
like superhero stuff.
hell yeah.
Mutants and Masterminds is no, not to look down on the new Marvel RPG system that Matt Forbeck has created, because it's great. It's great. It's very Marvel, like it's very Marvel themed, and it's very Marvel. Like a lot of the mechanics are like, hey, here's a little Marvel Easter egg. But just playing superheroes in general, Mutants and Masterminds is phenomenal.
It's fine. It's okay.
And it is, every once in a while I'm like, oh man, I would love to play a game that's this. I'd love to play a game where we're all playing anime characters, we'll say, as an example. I want to play a game where we're all playing an anime character, in like a post-apocalyptic anime world. What system would be best? I'm like, well, Mutants and Masterminds would be great. I want to play a Ghostbusters RPG. What system? Gosh, there's not a Ghostbusters RPG, but it'd be cool to roleplay as some Ghostbusters hunting ghosts. What would be good? Well, Mutants and Mastermind system would be, really good, because you just give the ghosts whatever powers that ghost would have, and then your proton pack would just be equipment with whatever power it is to catch the ghost.
Yeah.
So to me, Mutants and Masterminds is also a great game that you could also consider universal, even though that wasn't its intent. But for superheroes, it's phenomenal. It's got everything.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll be up for that if anyone in the chat just kind of nudge, wink, wink.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. If he doesn't want to GM, he wants to play, guys. He wants to
I
play.
want to play. I want to play.
GM, forever GM wants to play.
Yeah, I do. I want to be in a Continuum campaign. But all jokes aside, if anyone knows anyone that is running a superhero campaign, I'm down. I have got an idea in mind for a character, and it's going to be awesome. Anyway, you got 2 questions left. Make them count.
I have 2 questions left. Make them count.
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite gaming snack?
Oh,
you didn't see that one coming.
Did not see that one coming whatsoever. Favorite gaming snack. I'm going to sound basic as all hell, and I will probably get bullied after this. But it's a mix between the two. It is either Ritz crackers, because you gotta love that little bit of saltiness and the sweet mixing as well.
Yeah.
Or Texas barbecue Pringles. 110%.
So when you go gaming, that's what you're bringing to the table.
That is what I'm bringing to the table. If it's like an in-person D&D session, obviously I would bring something else, because Pringles can only be spread so much. Like, they are the small amounts. Although chips and dips, you can't go wrong with some tortilla chips and some salsa, sour cream, guacamole. Like, best thing ever. How are you though? What about you?
Me, I'm a celiac, so I'm limited into what I can have, for the most part. And it depends on where we're gaming. If we're gaming at my house, which is generally 90% of the case, because we have the space for it, it doesn't matter, because it's my house. I'm here, so it's all here. It's whatever I have on hand. But I'll bring anything that's kind of gluten free. Like right now, like these are in the house. These are gluten free pretzels for those in the viewing audience.
Mm-hmm.
The green screen doesn't like it, but the gluten free pretzels. Yeah, that's anything, gluten free pretzels. I like all kinds of different like little snacks to have. I'm oftentimes getting up and getting snacks while gaming, but it's whatever I have at hand, whatever chips or crackers or, sometimes cookies. I like to have a cookie there as well. Back in the day, when I didn't really think about what the snacks were, it would have been like, when I didn't think about my health and I didn't worry about how my body would feel afterwards, there's always the Doritos and Cheetos of the world, cheese
course.
balls,
Mm-hmm.
cheese anything, Cheez-Its. Back in the day, gluten free, Cheez-Its, 100%. That was it. That's the gaming snack of the world. I retcon to Cheez-Its.
Yeah.
That I can no longer have anymore. I've tried to make them gluten free out of sourdough bread, and they turned out good, but they weren't. I need to be able to roll it evenly to get it to cook right.
Yeah. No, I get that. It's honestly, I once dated as celiac, and I asked them what obviously they couldn't eat. Obviously, they said anything with any sort of flour or anything like that, or stuff that would set off these celiac reactions.
Wheat, barley, rye.
Yeah, and I was like, that's most things.
It's everything. Yep.
Yeah, I was like, I can't imagine what you're going through. Like that's terrible.
Yeah. But you're in the UK, so it's a lot easier over there. The UK and Europe in general has a lot better guidelines on food creation. So like, we're over here. If we go and get a soda, it's like a bunch of shit we can't pronounce, high fructose corn syrup, and your guys it's like sugar.
No, we also have
Like-
high fructose corn syrup as well in some stuff. That's
Right, but like
yeah.
a soda, like if you want an orange soda, what is it? It's like orange juice and carrot juice for coloring and sugar and carbonated water. And over here, it's just a bunch of chemicals.
Yeah,
You go over there and you get bread, and it's like these are it's the like if you made bread at home, but over here it's like monosodium glutamate and benzonatate or well, whatever, and all of these chemical things to make it cheap. Like over here, they throw wheat processed overly processed bleached wheat flour in everything because it's cheap and because there's no rules against it. And but over there a lot of stuff is a lot more regulated to be healthy. So you guys have a lot more options over there because things that you wouldn't think there are things over here. Sausage, for example, I can't really have sausage. Why? Because they use wheat as a filler, or they use a wheat in their conveyor belt, or they use wheat as other things. It's not allowed over there. It's like, why would we use wheat? We just ground up the meat and whatever, feed it. It's like they don't need to add that in their processed meats. So yeah, a lot of the food stuff you guys have it's a lot easier to be celiac in the UK than it is in the garbage dumpster fire of the United States that I'm in.
yeah. No, I'll get that. I mean, the US is known to be very difficult when it comes to foodstuffs. I mean, last time I was there, I was like 11, and we went to Walmart. I remember this because I read the Walmart's blueberry syrup that you guys have. I think it's blueberry.
Yeah.
And it's got stuff in there that shouldn't be in there whatsoever.
It doesn't have blueberries.
It doesn't.
There's
It doesn't have
blueberries
blueberries.
in the
No.
ingredient.
I think it was some. I think it was like shellfish. Was it like something like shellfish? It was
Blueberry extra shellfish extract. Yeah.
Yeah.
Blue dye number 5, whatever. It's like just use blueberries in your syrup.
It's just like it's one of those things. If you come over here, and you get like jam, for example, for you guys it would be called jelly. I just throw that out there.
For us, jelly doesn't have seeds in it, and jam has seeds in it.
Right here, same thing. Like it's not the same thing. Sorry, it's jam is seeded and non-seeded. Jelly is the stuff which is made with gelatin. That is, but yeah, if you come here, 9 times out of 10, and if you go to a farmer's market, there will not be any sort of preservatives or anything like that inside the jam. It's all fresh. It's it's there.
Yeah.
It's made properly. Obviously, stores are a different thing. But yeah, anyway, you guys didn't come here to hear me talk about jam.
I get one question. Got one question, right?
You got one question left. The final wish.
Oh, I had it too. I was like, what was the one question? And now I'm like, then I switched it, and I'm like, you're like jam, and I'm like, I've got another question, and I don't remember what that question was.
I'll give you
that
my
I
one.
had that I was gonna ask. What was the last question? I don't remember what was the last question. It was
Favorite D&D snack. Or other game
Oh
snack?
yeah, the favorite D&D snack. That's right. That's right. Yeah, I had another question. I don't remember what it was. Can we just do 4? Can we just say it was 4?
Shall we just say 4? Okay, fine. Okay,
We'll just do
it
4.
was
We'll do
for
4.
the genie lamp goes cold. Anyway.
Jamila, it's like, what is your 5th wish? My 5th wish is that I don't have a 5th wish.
Granted.
Ba-ba-ba-bum.
And suddenly paradox is caused. To wish away your 5th wish means that the 5th wish never existed in the first place.
That's true. That's true.
So
Or that I wished it. I wished for the 5th wish by wishing that it wasn't a 5th wish, and then it wouldn't happen. And so it happened. But because it happened, now it didn't happen. And because it didn't happen, now it happened. No!
the whole screen goes white.
Whoop.
So
It's the end of the world as we know it. Don't worry, I feel fine.
you've actually asked one of my questions for me, Mother Trucker. Okay,
I did?
you did. You did. You answered.
But I
one of
asked
the
you. You
things.
didn't ask me.
Yeah, but I asked you about your snack and you went pretzels, gluten-free pretzels.
I have pretzels. Yeah. Cheez-Its.
Yeah. Jesus.
Cheez-Its. You just have to change it. You just have
Yeah,
to
it's fine.
change it.
It's cool. I can
Just alter it,
improvise.
just minutely be like, okay, well, what drink of choice, what favorite dinner to order in a group, I don't know, whatever. And then every time I list one off, I'm checking one off on your list, and now you're like, I can't ask that because you just brought it up. I'm over here pretending like I'm writing on a piece of paper, but you can't see my hand or the pen doing this over the piece of paper while I'm doing it.
Exactly.
Oh, I remember my 5th question.
Oh, okay. All right, never mind.
I
We're
remember. Hey,
restaurant.
Genie, get back in the room. I'm going to ask my question.
Yes,
I
so much,
unwished my wish
master.
that I unwished.
There you
I unwished my wish that I wished.
go.
All right. So a lot of game masters have a lot of, you have in gaming you have tools. You have a notebook, a clipboard, the books. I don't really count that. Your dice,
Right.
maybe a dice tower. Besides those that I listed just now, what is a tool that you have or have had that you have thought is incredibly useful in game mastering? A tool, something that you have at the table and use.
Oh, are we talking in person? Are we talking over?
In
Sorry,
person.
In person. Okay.
Any kind of thing that you found, an invention, a thing you found, something you bought online, maybe something you don't actually have, but you like, man, that would be kind of cool to have as a tool for gaming.
I had to increase the role playing experience for the players. I had this incense thing which you plug in, and it was obviously it made the room smell like stuff. You had like different smells for it. You had like a bakery type smell, which was I think it was cinnamon rolls or something like that. And for certain scenes, I would use the incense part to stimulate the senses. So as I went around and described it, they could smell where they were. Just at the extra sensory stuff whilst we're in person. I also, not technically a tool, but I had constructed a menu for one of the D&D games. And I'm
It's a
all about...
handout.
Yeah.
Tangentially.
Now, you would think this is just a prop. This is just a menu which you would use to look at, and you can be in character looking through the menu. It wasn't just a prop. It was an actual menu. In the other room, I had stuff slow cooking and other various items doing their thing. And so when it came round, I timed it perfectly, which I surprised myself because nothing goes perfectly in D&D. Something always railroads it. So I handed out these menus, and they, in character, would order something. And at the time, I was with my now ex. Well, I'll say my now ex, distant ex. And so, I would ask them to read out in character what they would like to order. And so they'd read it out, and me and my ex at that time had an agreement, because she was also playing, but she was also voicing some of the NPCs, like the waitresses and barmaids and whatever. And so she would go out, she would come back with the actual food and lay it in front of the characters. And whilst the characters ate, they roleplayed in person. So not necessarily a tool,
Nice.
but something to really stimulate the sensory side of role playing.
Yeah.
I think on the menu we had, I think it was barbecued dragon wings, which was just really large chicken wings, made to look pretty through edible stuff. I don't remember if I still got pictures, but yeah, that was one of the tools I used. It was simply sensory influencing, I guess. Smelling the bakery, smelling anything food whilst in character.
Okay.
So yeah, there you
Nice.
go. Yeah, I went above
We
and
had,
beyond.
Yeah. I had years ago, I don't remember the website's name. I don't even think they're around anymore. But they made these they're not tokens, they're like little discs that you use. And they were like, just a 1/4 inch thick. And they had little magnets inside them. And the magnets were okay. I didn't use them for the magnetic intent, but they came with like little printed things that you could put on the sides of them. And so you could put it on and you could put your miniatures on top. And so it was really great for tracking. This character is invisible. So I'd use the white ones. Anybody who was sitting on a white one, those characters were invisible on the map. Easy to keep track of. And then you'd move the base, because the character was on the base. And so it was a little 1-inch circle that you could move around. And, and then we had thick ones, we had big ones, and like, oh, where is your familiar? Do you have a miniature? I need a miniature for whatever. Nobody had miniatures. Well, I got my tokens here. And those became incredibly useful for marking who was flying. We'd be like, we'd just stack 6 of them and be like, every stack is 10 feet up. Look, this person is flying 60 feet. And they were only really this far up off the map, but you could count the numbers of things or be like, whatever. So those became incredibly useful tools that nobody else had except for me. And I used them all the time, and I'd bring them to games, and they'd always get used. It didn't matter if I was going to a convention, if I was whatever I was doing, and everyone's like, "That's super cool." So I think that's one of my favorite tools. But yeah, props are great. I love props.
Yeah, props are awesome.
I've never really been I've never used props just because I'm like, by the time I think of it, it's too late.
Yeah.
But a lot of other GMs have come up with some really cool props and handouts that like you get to keep this prop. And so I have a lot of like hand-drawn maps or printed maps that people have hand-drawn that my character ended up with that I'm just like I have in a folder. I save all my characters, by the way.
Of course.
If I play a character more than 2 or 3 times, guaranteed I have that character somewhere. I just went through. I had to take an entire drawer in our filing cabinet because I had a bag with characters like a backpack bag with a bunch of folders in it that are just storage. I had a little like a file bin thing open up with things. I had 2 trapper keepers, and they all had just gaming stuff in it. A lot of it were characters from different RPGs, and I just sorted them so they're all in one place. And I don't know, I probably have 30, 40 character sheets from my various gaming throughout history. So almost all of my most memorable characters that go back 30 plus years, I have all of them. There's 1 or 2 sheets that I can think of that I'm like, this was an important character that I don't have, and I don't know what happened to them. And that's about it. I have all of the other ones, every single one. And I have other people's character sheets too. They're like, yeah, I'm just gonna, I'm done playing this character or whatever. I'm like, can I keep that character because it's meaningful to me. So and then every once in a while they're like, yeah, I don't have that character anymore. I can't. I'd love to play that character again, but I can't. And I'd be like, here you go. I have it. I have a copy of it.
Yeah, no, I mean it's always good to leave like mementos for people. I do this thing when a person is like new to my campaign, I send them a set of dice, and I'm like, if you want to, if you get the dice before the first session starts, you may use them. They are your dice to do with whatever you please. Make them your lucky dice, and it's just a set of dice. So that's what, 6 dice. 6 dice. 1 second. D20, D12, D100. Yeah, 6. 6. Yeah. Is it 6? Is it 5? I can't. Anyway, way off topic, but yeah, I would always send them a little memento just to remember our time playing, as well as something useful to them, which they can use later on for other stuff, and then look at the dice and go, "Holy shit, that was from that campaign, or that was from this
Yeah.
DM doing this thing at certain points." So it's always nice to give something to just let them reminisce about,
Yeah. I like tokens, things that they save. I have tokens. We talked about my dice baker. I have little
Yeah.
tokens of things from other games that I will never play again that are in here. Let me dump this out real quick. Let's see what we got.
Sure.
Let's see. You see them all like, oh my gosh, it's such a mess. So little tokens that we get here. So like that's something that GM handed out. I've got, if you ever played Deadlands, have you ever played Deadlands or heard of Deadlands?
I've heard of it. I've not played it.
So in the game, it uses the original Deadlands uses playing cards and poker chips as a mechanic in the tabletop RPG.
Right.
And we would have what was called legend chips, which these are like the most powerful chips that you could, because you can use them. Like a white chip would be like, okay, you get a +2 to your roll, and a blue chip would be like, you get to use this special power that you have, and so it'd be like white, red, blue, and then legend was like you could do something, you have this special power. When you use a legend chip, you come back to life after you've died. The legend chips were awesome. I had a legend chip the last time we played, and it was my legend chip I had been holding on forever, just in case. I always would hold on to one because I had the power where you could come back to life. And it was so old that my legend chip had broken on multiple occasions, and it's been typed back together, and it's been sitting in my bag for 25 years, sitting there. So like, yeah, tokens are great to be able to hold on to, whether it's dice or coins or whatever they give away. So some of them I just carry in my dice bag at all times. Like I will never play that game probably again. I'll probably never play that character again. But that chip will always be in my dice bag for the rest of my existence, just because that character was special to me, and I can carry it in my dice bag to remember for all times. As I now slowly roll all of these dice back into my dice bag that are all over my table.
I mean, hey, everyone's got their own little thing, which which they value and they respect, and the fact that you respect those,
Yeah,
and the fact that they bring back
Everybody's
so
got
many
something.
core memories is amazing.
Yeah.
It's brilliant, and it's so nice to hear because it's
It
almost
shapes who we
relieving.
are as people.
Hey, Roddy, no worries. Thank you so much for being here, and have an awesome day.
See you later, Roddy. We loves you.
All the love.
Roddy's an amazing VR streamer as well.
VR streamer, love
Yeah,
the
she does VR. She's amazing. So much fun.
Okay, so where were we? Kind of.
I asked you a bunch of questions.
Yes, asked me a bunch of questions. Then we kind of yeah. Okay, cool. Brain thing, doing it. Cool.
Yep.
They just editor.
That's been me ever since COVID 2 years ago now. My brain's like, that's what caused me to do the memory of a goldfish alert on my stream. Happens so often.
I get so distracted. It's honestly, it's starting to become a problem. No, it's not a problem. So, next we've got, and this has been going on for a while, and I'm loving it. I've loved this conversation, and I've loved this interview with you. Don't worry, we're slowly but surely making our way towards the end. So, next segment is called One's Gotta Go. It's time for some tough choices, Epic. I'll present 4 options. You have to eliminate one forever. Decimated from the timeline. It never existed in the first place.
I mean, I don't have to, but I will for the concepts of this game.
For the concepts of the game. Yeah. No. It's not actually going to happen, but just in our mind's eye, So.
I'm a smartass. I'll see stuff like that similarly on like social media. And it'll be like a picture of like these 4 superheroes and like one's got to go. And I always reply, no, it doesn't. Enter.
So for the sake of this game, one's got to go.
Oh, for the sake of this game, I will play.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will participate because I like you.
And I like you too, buddy. Thank you very much. Anyway. So, one's got to go. Here are your 4 options. Option 1, D&D 5e, as in the home module. Option number 2, Critical Role. Option number 3, Virtual Tabletops. And option number 4, Homebrew Content. One has got to go.
From existence or just for me?
Just existence. Existence, it
From
never
existence,
exists. It's gone. Poof.
So nobody ever knows about homebrew or could come up with homebrew content.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone forgets homebrews ever existed and it's never being able to be made again unless so on.
And virtual tabletops.
Virtual tabletops.
So no Roll20, no Beyond, whatever, no Forge, no no 5e, no Critical Role. And it never existed. So here's the problem.
Okay.
And I'm going to go through and explain all of these. 5th edition is great. If there was no 5th edition, we'd still be doing 4th edition. Now, if 4th edition was still the main thing, that means everybody would be playing Pathfinder still, which I would be fine with. That being said, 5th edition is great for D&D. 5th edition, without 5th edition, there would be no Critical Role.
True.
And vice versa. Without Critical Role, there would be no 5th edition. They kind of go hand in hand. 5th edition would still be there. It just wouldn't be as prevalent. In my opinion. Virtual tabletops, you can GM without a virtual tabletop. That's easy. If you need to have a map, you just have a second camera pointing at a map. It would be easy to get rid of a virtual tabletop, whether you're a streamer, whether you're playing, whether it's the pandemic. You could still theater of the mind role playing, right? But at the same time, Critical Role helped make tabletop role playing mainstream. It was one of the founding factors. Critical Role. We talked about all that earlier. Homebrew campaigns. Again, if homebrew campaigns didn't exist, neither would Critical Role. Critical Role is a homebrew campaign. So you're killing 2 with 1 on that. So if you kill homebrew, you kill Critical Role. If you kill Critical Role, you kind of get 5th edition. It doesn't become mainstream. You don't have that. I'm gonna say virtual tabletops would have to get eliminated.
Okay.
Virtual tabletops don't exist. You can still do everything without virtual tabletops.
I like how you carefully thought about it.
I don't watch Critical Role, as I've said. I like watching the clips. I like all the characters. I like Vox Machina, but what they have done for the industry is important to keep, regardless of my personal what I personally consume in entertainment. Critical Role and the fact that I use virtual tabletop every Wednesday. We use Roll20. During the pandemic, it was huge. So virtual tabletops are very important, but I'm still getting rid of virtual tabletops because Critical Role is more important in history to the industry than virtual tabletops.
Fair enough. Okay, so
There we go.
virtual tabletops are gone. That also would include for games such as Warhammer as well. But in games which have focus on virtual tabletops to then create their stuff going on. But yes, well done. That was actually a really good
There's still
answer.
video games. You can still play video games.
Still video games. Yep. Definitely. There are still video games. Just not any of the 2D related ones where you'd actually have to, move a token around. Or, for example, you could argue that Command and Conquer was virtual tabletop.
I don't play it, so it doesn't bother me. It bothers you. But, it doesn't affect me too much. And I'm pretty sure the Warhammer community would be just fine.
Oh yeah, fine. There we go. How about you, Chas? Out of the 4 that I've given you, what would you vote?
I just convinced them all.
Erased from existence. Never, ever was a thing. Would you vote for D&D 5e, Critical Role, virtual tabletops, or homebrew content?
And if you're seeing this on a replay down the road, still respond.
Oh yeah, it's still
Emails,
responding.
emails, social media.
You've literally got my business
Reply in
email
the
there.
comments.
Exactly, reply in the comments. You know, I'm seriously interested. Anyone at all, you can reply. I will read each and every comment. Do 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 do.
And maybe they don't have an answer.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Maybe they don't have an answer right here, right now, live. And that's
Right
okay.
here, right now. Sorry, the song just popped in my head.
Right now.
Oh my god.
Everything right now. See, I'm dating myself again.
Yes, quite so, yes. Alright.
Yes, very much.
Okay, right. Fantastic. So. Let's go for a lightning round. I asked you some questions. You answered quickly. You got exactly 10 seconds to answer. If you fail to answer, you lose. Not quite sure what you lose, but you lose.
I've lost.
You've lost.
Me only having 10 seconds to answer?
10 seconds. 10 seconds. Quick. Okay. I gotta think. There's only 5 questions. You're fine. Are you ready?
I'm as ready as I'm going to be.
Fantastic. Favorite spell?
Prestidigitation.
Go to snacks during sessions. As
Wait,
in,
say that again?
as in, go, go to drink during sessions.
Go to a drink during sessions. Sparkling water, probably.
Sparkling
or
water.
rum.
Was the wrong gone? Most underrated TTRPG. 4,
Beings and Masterminds.
3. The alignment which you most identify with.
I don't believe in alignments.
That's the right answer. Okay. If you could be any D&D class in real life, which D&D class would you be?
Rogue.
Bard.
Bard.
Fantastic. Bard. Rogue or Bard?
Oh, are you asking?
Yeah, I was
Rogue or Bard?
asking. Yep, no, that's 2.
I mean, they're both rogue-ish.
One.
Bard, probably Bard.
Okay.
I probably closer identify to a Bard out of the 2.
Well, that wraps it up. That about wraps it up. We had one hell of a stream, and I enjoyed every single moment of it. So, Epic Realms, thank you so much for joining us today. You've been an absolute amazing guest. So, one of the final questions is, where can our viewers find more of your content? Feel free to post a link into the chat.
Twitch.tv/epic_realms has all of the links. We will be having a website soon, within the next 2 months. So we're looking at, what is it now? May. So by the end of July, epicrealmsmedia.com will be back up and running with that whole new thing. More to be revealed on that. There's the Twitch thing in the chat for those of you that are there. But yeah, twitch.tv/epic_realms. That's the website. I'm on all the social media. You can just look for Epic Realms. You can Google Epic Realms podcast, and you will get me right away. That's probably one of the best ways. Google is your friend, people. I say it all the time. Google is your friend. Just look up Epic Realms podcast. Heck, the Google AI knows who I am. So if that means anything to you, I love the little write-up it does when it's like, what is Epic Realms podcast? It gives a little blurb. So yeah. All the social medias. I'm on X. I don't use X anymore. As good of a promotional tool as it is, it's not anymore. So, but every social media, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, YouTube, LinkedIn, I'm on all of them. You can find them all.
There's also a link tree, I believe, in your bio as well.
I do have a link tree in my bio.
Yes.
I can pull that up, and because I can't. Oh, it's just link. It's the link tree, and I don't know why they do this. It should be linktree.com / but it's linktr.ee for linktree / epic_realms, and I don't know why they do it that way. It's freaking ridiculous. But yeah, that is my link tree link as well. Which
send it to me. I'll post it. It's got a thing. Let's go censor.
Did I get booted? Did it tell me no? Did it tell me no? Did it
It
like
told
delete me?
you. It told you no. It was like, the fuck you doing? Send it
What
to
are you
me.
doing?
I know.
There we go.
Thank
I
you.
sent it to you. Oh, and I see you posted the playlist. That is the Game Masters Workshop, I believe, that I sent you earlier.
Yeah.
We were talking about questions when people are like, "Hey, what should I do as a new game master, as a new player?" And I said did a whole series. That is the entire series. That has all of them, where we have special games, game masters, special people from the industry that come on and tell you how to help you be a better GM.
Honestly, it looked
So
really
that
good.
other link you
I
then posted.
did check it out on my break. I absolutely loved the first episode, which is on there. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
Also, I didn't.
Great people. Ed Greenwood, Chris Jackson, Eric Scott DeBee. Shout out to those guys. Again, they were the first people that supported the podcast, so they were the first people on the Game Masters Workshop.
But yeah, you were great, and I absolutely love the fact that you've expanded so much, and I cannot wait to see what you do next for your channel. I can't wait to see what you do next for all the channels which you got. Like, Jesus. But yeah.
Do you want a spoiler? Do you want a spoiler?
Oh, do we want a spoiler, chat?
Do you want a spoiler?
Do we
Announced here first, officially announced here first.
I don't know. I'm kind of panicking now. Do we want a spoiler? I don't. Chat. Obviously, obviously, we want a spoiler epic. What the fuck are you talking about? Give us that spoiler, please.
There is a plan in the works to bring back a new rendition, a new variation, a new season, if you will, of the Game Masters Workshop, and I will likely be dropping it on Kickstarter for support to get a new Game Masters Workshop whole season done, and it will have a new overlay, kind of a new way that it's framed and situated. That is the plan. It doesn't come with some challenges. Timing being one of them. Getting time, finding guests, getting art, getting production, all of that put together. So it's going to go to Kickstarter to try and do another season, and it'll be all custom everything, and that is the plan, to come up with a new Game Masters Workshop, a new twist, a new spin on it that's still kind of in the developmental stages of that. So Game Masters Workshop will return.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. I know I'm still part of the first episode, but Jesus Christ, yes, please, more. Need more. And if you got any sort of ideas of an exact date and that sort of thing, feel free to say. I'm just looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm gonna love it. I love everything TTRPG. Let's be honest. But yes. Is there any last moments or last words until we end today's?
Support your friends, support other streamers, support other podcasts. I don't care where you are. Feed the algorithm to support them. Comment on all of their things. When this video ends up on YouTube, share it to everybody. Put comments. Click the like button if this drops on YouTube. If you have friends or other podcasts that do that, write ratings. Click the ratings, 5-star ratings, review them. It feeds the algorithm to push those shows. So I don't care if it's Tabletop Rolls. I don't care if it's Epic Realms. I don't care if it's Rob Hartley. If you want to support a podcast, if you want to support a stream, if you want to support a YouTube channel, the best way, yes, money is great. Make it rain.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can't, because most people can't, what you can do is you can spend a few minutes clicking like, typing in the comments, playing the video a few times. Like, that is free. All of that stuff is free ways that you can drastically help change other people's shows and promote their shows and give them support without doing any real work. So support everybody, guys. Support them.
Thank you so much for being so inspirational. Honestly, it has been an absolute pleasure. A little later on, I will be messaging you to talk about your commemorative, is that the right word? T-shirts, which I send out to all those that have appeared on Tabletop Talks. It's a neat little logo with a little quote from yourself, and yeah, thank you so much, dude. It's been an absolute fucking pleasure.
And thanks for having me.
You are very, very welcome. Again, those 3 hours and 52 minutes have blasted by. I have had so much fun. And hopefully we can collab again in the future, maybe.
Yeah, sounds good.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Well, be sure to go over and follow the Epic_Realms, or rather, just Epic, and check out their amazing content. Until the next time, ladies and gentlemen, may you all roll those natural 20s. And this time, we did not roll the nat one. But until then, bye-bye.